JR might be a dickhead, but apparently he's got some great friends.
How do, everybody? Welcome. I'm totally on the wrong scene. There we go. that'll make it work. That was just a scene of an empty workshop.
Seamless.
Seamless, as always. Welcome to everyone in chat. Shadow Scout, VMX, you and Carl, Paul Three Keys, Patch, Von Cody. Yes, thank you very much for that. I assume you mean the big Pisces displays. So that's an interesting project that we'll come back to. So that space on the wall, that side of me, where those posters are, that's where I want to put one of those, because we actually have two of them that have a milling error on them. So we had to get replacements from the manufacturer. So we actually have a couple that we can put on the wall here, which is awesome. Welcome. Beneath me is James Stormtrooper and Westbrook Drew. Underneath him, we have two wonderful JRDF co-hosts here today. I feel bad that I'm not in the JRDF top because everyone else is.
Yep. Well, James and I coordinated before, so
yeah, that's awesome. I like it. I love the JRDF logo on your screen as well. Just like I feel bad that I don't have enough JRDFs in here. We're gonna have to have some big JRDFs on the in the workshop. Yeah, no doubt we are gonna have to.
Yeah, I was talking to the guy at Buffalo Big Print, and he does the vinyl cutting for me. And he was the one who did the Star Citizen logo for the back of my RAV way back in the day. And so I want to have a couple JRDF stickers in the back here. So when we get the studio up and running, it'll be part of the scene.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a vinyl cut. It's not very wide. It only does 900 mil, I think, is the biggest roll we can put in it. But obviously, and as long as you like. I mean, it's
right.
It's a terribly cheap rubbish machine, but it does vinyls. Like just plain vinyls. That's all it does. But we just tend to use it for paint masking and all that kind of stuff. So actually, thinking about it, that should probably end up going down to the workshop actually, because I basically use it for painting, and all my painting stuff is going down to the new shop. So. So yeah, that would make more sense in the world. What was I going to say? I'll just put this in there so I can show the tonk off again. I was having a meeting with Atmo Esports today, hence why the tonk is on my desk. So how you guys been? It's been a while since I've had co-hosts, so I thought why not have two at once? The technology allows us, apparently, just about. So it's all good.
Go for it, James.
Oh man, I've been quiet and down working on a couple projects. Right now, I'm actually working on some of the stepper stuff, so kind of getting that easy interface in for you, JR, and rebuilding kind of the back end and front end of the Kovlex stuff. So kind of just like fortifying it for our future purposes.
Nice. I do need the idiot guide to doing these steppers for sure. It's one of those things that it's like the ideal is to basically have a way of manually controlling them and then going right, okay, because we kind of need to. It's almost like on the fly programming them, I suppose. I think what we'll do, obviously, we'll get it working, then we'll have video calls or do it live or whatever. Because I am so looking forward to getting this door on the stepper. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. Yeah, without a doubt.
I'm telling you, you could probably use just the standard 3D printing motherboard because you just plug the stepper motors in there and then you can control, how many steps they move. So it's pretty simple, and then use G's code to. I mean, I know you need like 30 of them,
yeah.
So this is exactly the right scenario. But if you just want to get some steppers moving, like that's the way I would do it.
It is. I guess it's that whole thing. But my first thought was right. Use a CNC control, which is the same thing as
right.
Having printers. I just like yeah, but it's like that limits us to axes, and we've got to use G code for it. And I think you know what? It's like let's see if we can integrate this into the pies, because at the end of the day, if the pie can do everything, we don't have to have like a CNC controller and then like Mac in it, or Mac 3 or whatever in it. It's a whole extra process. And to be honest,
gotcha.
when you compare what our stuff is doing compared to a CNC, it's nothing. Like, if we consider the number of duty cycles and stuff, one of our, like, the Covalex unit will do, you're probably talking in its lifetime, it might go up and down 1,000 times. The CNC does that every hour when it's running. Do you know what I mean? When it's running, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of steps. So yeah, it'll be. I think there'll be a lot of advantages for doing our own. And as you say, we have a project in mind that has a insane amount of axes. Well, they're not axes, but yeah, an insane amount of moving parts, all controlled by steppers. And it's not just that; it's steppers and solenoids and lights and all the rest of it. And if like one thing is controlling all of them, that would be absolutely amazing. No pressure, James.
No pressure. Not complicated at all.
I'm sitting here trying to guess what it is.
Hello, Desolate Art. Hello. Welcome. Yes, we all want the tonk. Yeah, It's not as good as it looks because it doesn't spin or anything because this is just for a static trophy, so it's not as fun as it could be. But there's a lot of extra work to get it to be kit model standard that just isn't on the cards at the moment. We have too many other things to get kit model-y to you. So yeah. So I thought I'd do a very quick workshop update.
JR might be a dickhead, but apparently he's got some great friends.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the subscription.
So I thought,
and to follow up on your question, JR. Yeah, so I obviously we've been talking about this, but your audience doesn't. So I'm setting up the workshop to do some prints for JRDF. We are kind of splitting the difference of print jobs, and that's the only thing that's left, from my understanding, right, JR?
Yeah, no, there's just the afts and the forward fuselage sections. Everything else is printed to 100 anyway. We're doing our first batch of 100. So yeah, looking forward to getting you on board the printing train.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we have the order in, everything's coming down. Once I get the second wash, we should be pretty much there, and I'll just start hitting print, and we'll get them going. So yeah, I got all the IPA in, so that's good. So we got extras of that, and that's isopropyl alcohol, not
beer.
Not beer.
No, rubbish, eh? It's funny though. I've got a friend who has a small recycling and waste management company. He's dropped off like gallons and gallons of used 3D print IPA because there's a dental place in a couple of towns over to us that he does the waste management for. He's like, so he knew we did 3D print. He's like, what do I do with all this IPA? He's like, bring it the fuck here.
Give it to us.
Bring it here. We will recycle it.
That's awesome.
We have a still for that shit.
Mm-hmm. That's the best way to do it too. So
yeah. The other thing, to actually dispose of it is a pain in the ass. I mean, what is suggested a lot of places, you get old paint cans and fill old paint cans with it, because then you can take it to recycling centres and they'll landfill it. And it's just like, that's a bad way of doing it. That is a bad way of doing it. So does that mean is your printer downstairs now then, or is it? Are you still setting the?
No, it's still up here. So I've been doing work in the workshop to get it ready. I've actually been printing. I just finished a print as a birthday present. So it's actually, I can grab it. Give me a second.
Oh, nice.
Oh, thanks. It's not my birthday yet, but
close your eyes, James. I should add a door onto this so that people can see what the fuck this is.
So this is fresh off the printer. I finished last night. And you guys are going to be able to see it with this.
Oh, I don't know. It's green screening.
Yeah, it's green screening.
It's not green. Actually, why are you green screening?
Because it's not the... It's the NVIDIA broadcast. I can fix it.
So it's picking a person. Let's see. Put it in front of you. Oh, there you go. Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool. That's huge. Is that in tough?
That's in tough, yeah.
Oh, tough. Wow. That's so cool. I've not done any like big tough prints. All my tough prints have been the small stuff, but it comes out really nice as big prints.
It does. It comes out great. And then the nice thing about it is you don't have to worry about it like busting up. Like if you drop it a little bit or it just falls to the ground, you're like smash. You're like, oh, frick. So yeah, it's a lot nicer to have them done. And the other one that I have, I don't know if I could show that on here, but I love that one. That's one of my favorites. So from Ungie.
I think how are the supports to take off on the big ones? Because the tough support, obviously, because it's such a durable material that this touch points are harder to take off.
Absolutely true. And you have to be very careful with it, because if you don't, then you're going to leave a lot on there because it is very tough. So you can get away with much smaller touch points because of that.
Yes.
But yeah, I need a good set of nice sharp nippers for those, specifically for tough because of that reason. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So there's been a few changes to our workshop layout. I'll explain why. So for those of you who saw this before, so this is our current shop. I say shop, it's at my garage.
The wash beer.
So this is where we currently build everything. This is the little CNC that you saw in the intro, and workbenches and dust extractor, but not exactly a lot of room. And this also has to double up as our paint shop. So we have to cover everything up, like with dust sheets and everything, to be able to paint anything. So you can't cut and paint at the same time. It's a complete pain in the ass. So we are moving to this workshop, which is exciting. Now, one of the things that this workshop has currently sitting in it is a paint booth. So I just move this out of the way because that isn't there. So this thing here, this is also not there at the moment. This thing here is basically a paint booth that you can fit a minibus in. So I was trying to think of an American equivalent. So like a Ford F-250 would fit in this and you could paint it. So it is for big-ish vehicles. Not trucks, but like what we would call trucks, lorries. It's not that big, but it's like big cars and minibuses and things. So there's this main space, and then there's this other little room attached to it, which is like where you mix the paints, because they've got like car paint mixing system type thing in it. And then there's massive compressor behind it and stuff, and then a little toilet block in the corner. And my plan was, I bought this, so we're renting the building, but I bought the paint booth. It's a spray bake booth, which I think is an American firm. Actually, but it's really nice. It's really cool. It's got a full extract in the ceiling. The whole ceiling is an extract. I haven't put them on the drawings, but there's two massive chimneys that come out the back from these big 3-phase blowers. So it's a really cool paint booth, but it's in the way because it means we can't bring a truck in, because the only door it's got that a truck fits through is here. And obviously this is why they've put it there, because they used to paint vehicles with it. Waldeck, hello. So it's a case of, we were going to basically take it apart and move it. And it turns out that's a stupid idea, because it's so complicated and there's so many parts to it that I didn't realize how good a booth it was. So there's just so much to it. There's the stuff under the concrete. So it's like, no. So we have the problem of not being able to get a truck in. So, but I was there and I thought, well, actually, you can kind of gooseneck a truck in. This door is quite wide. So I think I'll be able to back a truck in and just squeeze past it. It's been done, so so I should be able to back a truck in without too much trouble. It's going to be a bit tight. But then my electrician said, well, why don't you just put another door here? It's just like, yeah, that'd be so much easier. It'd be so much cheaper than moving the whole spray. We just put another fucking door in.
Put another door in. Hey.
So that's the long-term plan. If we do need to back a truck in here, we're just putting another door in, because that will be like couple of grand to put a door in, whereas moving this is going to be like a 10 grand job. realistically. It's so, because we're going to have to fix the holes in the ceiling and then make new holes in the ceiling. Oh, it's just going to be such a pain in the ass. So we've changed our mind, and
I'm
we're
just
going
happy to blame JR immediately, but if you insist, we will look at the evidence.
Crazy
hard TR
for the farm. Thank you very much. So if we're leaving this, does the truck need to back all the way in though? So usually no. So usually what we're using is curtain siders, and we'll just side load with the forklift outside. So that's fine. It's just if we ever wanted to bring, like, I've done container builds before, and so it would be nice to be able to back a container all the way in if we're modding it as a like an exterior building type event thing, because otherwise I have to work on it outside. So it's a sort of thing that it's always handy to be able to back trailers in if you actually want to do something to the trailer itself, basically. So whether you want to, just actually fit out a trailer, or say do a container build or something like that. It's probably not going to be something we do very often, but it would be handy. It's one of those things. It's on the like list rather than the need. Is being able to back things all the way in. So that's cool. So the office that we need to build at some point is going to basically straddle the paint booth as it is. So we'll build a steel frame, mezzanine, and then put the office above it. Where the stairs I'm going, I'm not quite sure. There is like room down the side, but I don't know whether that's going to block access to the toilet. We might have to move the compressor or something like that. So, So that's just a bit of a change around where that's going. It does give us more build space. The only disadvantage to it is that it does restrict our width here to 8 meters.
Okay.
But this is still quite a big build space. We've still got... There's still room. Do you know what I mean? There's still a massive fucking build space. And it's like no trade stand is going to be exactly one size or the other. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's basically a standard HGV, UK HGV. Interestingly, this is not a very tall one for us. We can get up to 16.5 feet trucks, which this door wouldn't accommodate. But although we're allowed really tall trucks in the UK, I think so in metric 4.85 meters, I think is our limit. Europe is only 4 meters. So any trucks that we use, our events tend to be in Europe anyway, so we will be sticking to 4 meter high trucks anyway. So that's fine. So that's cool. So the compressors stay. This massive compressor is staying here at the back. I've got room for a couple of CNCs. I'd like to buy at least one more. The heater is here, which is another reason why having this on, not moving this heater and not building a building over it would be good. Loads of room for workbenches. So we could take this room down. I haven't decided whether we'll keep this room or not, because then we could push the office back and all that. I mean, that's sort of like future planning. But this is such a colossal space compared to what we're in at the moment. It is absolutely amazing. Oh,
is that the comparison there?
Yeah. That's the current gap. That's where we are at the moment.
A little different.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I say the issue we have with this is just like,
oh wow, yeah, no, that does look familiar, but we could build your garage inside the workshop, is what you're saying.
Yeah, awesome. The height in this place is incredible as well. I mean, it's such a tall space, which is great for building trades.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy.
Elevator. Well, I could just use a forklift. And
that's right.
The other thing is we could have an event elevator. I was like, I've never built a 2-story trade stand ever. I've built trade stands that have been 7 meters high, but they haven't had like a mezzanine in it. When we were at Gamescom in 2019, Stadia had a 3-story trade stand with a lift in it. It's just like, that's fucking insane. I mean, it was obviously a freestanding thing and very slow, but yeah, they didn't have a staircase. They had this electric elevator. It's just like, oh my god.
sense.
Yeah, it would be an absolute nightmare. But I'd say, obviously, there is also like, I don't really know what the rules are regarding disability access. As far as I know, I don't need it if I'm in a building with just me in it. I don't see that we would. But yeah, so this is the ideal, is to be able to look out onto the CNCs, because eventually when we've got the office up here, I want to be able to be designing and drawing and watching my machine at the same time, without having to listen to it too closely. So that's cool. So that's where we are with that. So I've just been, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, not that I wouldn't be doodling what we want anyway, but I've had to kind of work out exactly what this is going to look like, because they're currently they're rewiring it for us at the moment. So I've had to work out where I want all the power. It's just like, yeah, 63 amp. I really want a 63 amp 3-phase socket, because that tends to be what we get given at an event. So when you do an exhibition stand, you basically get handed a 63 amp 3-phase plug and go, there's your power. And everything else has to run off that. So it's been really nice to have that in the shop, so we can go, right. Everything that's plugged into that comes with us and goes on the truck. So that when we get to the other end, it all plugs back in again.
Amazing.
Because, yeah, we have turned up to events and only had a 32 amp plug. And we get given a 63. It's like, shit. it's massively overspec'd now. I mean, it's like 63 amps is a hell of a lot of 415 volt power. But when you consider, there used to be like lighting rigs before LEDs were the sort of go-to for lighting rigs. Lighting rigs were ridiculous power draw. Even on a relatively small trade stand, you could easily pull 40 amps. Easily with a relatively small lighting rig if you had a lot of movers and floods and things. So yeah, Jack Burke Christian, hello. So that's where we're at with this. I say my target date for moving in is 1st of November. That is just a date I've given to the estate agents. We're more going to be dependent on when the power's done, because I don't really want to go in before the power's turned on, because fuck all I can do. Be a bit rubbish without any power. I mean, it has power in at the moment, but they're going to have to take the power out to put the new power in. So it's like, yeah, okay. So that's where we are. But I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be
very
a huge
exciting
step forward for JRDF. Absolutely.
It is.
This awesome. Is all staying where it is. For anyone who's into, so all of the 3D print stuff, all of the model side of the business is staying put for the time being. This is the event side that's going into this new building, because we really want to do bigger and better things, both for Star Citizen and other genres and companies, because we feel that we've got much bigger builds in us than we ever have done before. So
next level trade stands, just saying.
Yeah, and even things like, it's weird. I was thinking about like the Covalex unit we're building at the moment. We were talking about last week, like, oh, we want to build 2 or 3 of them. It's like, I don't have room to build 2 or 3 of them. I could barely fit 1 in the garage. I mean, you've seen me working around, I think, tripping over cables. That's just with 1 of the fucking things. So I mean, just the thought of trying to build 3 of those, in the space we have is ridiculous. Whereas here, having this whole extra spray, like being able to just go and paint something whenever I want to go and paint something without having to cover everything else up, and and it's like, I've become very attuned to the noise of a CNC machine now. So I can tell if the CNC is having an issue with itself just by listening to it. I don't really need to see it. So I can be painting away in the paint booth and have the machines running, and that's fine. I'm literally just a doorway away. So I can always put a window in the side as well, actually, thinking about it. So yeah, so that's where we are. So that's kind of nice. Now James has been working on stepper motors for us. Let me just jump onto that, because he sent a tiny video.
Oh man, not this thing.
I don't know if I'll have sound is the only thing, which is kind of the whole point of doing this.
No.
I don't think I will have sound. Don't worry, everyone will hear the sound when it comes to Halloween, because I'm going to be doing... So one of the things we want to do with the Colex unit is replace the air with a stepper motor. So James, being the amazing person he is, no, there's no sound. Sorry, has been playing with steppers. So we have steppers. So oh,
That was it. Short and sweet.
Yeah, no, absolutely no, but
it moves
for those like who the excitement, that stepper motor is moving. It is moving from so talk us through this, James. Pi controlling what? It's
actually incredibly simple, and I was just going to mention earlier on in the stream that you can see in the picture here, I actually have this connected through. It looks like a hat on top of the Raspberry Pi, like something that you would adapt onto the pins. And it's just a set of relays, but in fact, I'm not even going through the relays on this one. Before we were using the relays to power the air. Here, I can just send high and low out of the GPIO, so the pins on the Raspberry Pi. And what's really doing the work is that driver. It's the black box with the green Phoenix connectors in the back there. So that thing's getting powered by an adapter, and then it's doing really all the logic. So all it's taking in from the Raspberry Pi is a couple of simple commands through a binary on-off kind of action. So anyway, the controls are really simple for this stepper motor. It actually went really quickly. So now it's just putting together an interface. Yeah.
I mean, for people who don't understand the difference between a normal motor and a stepper motor, a normal motor has basically one set of windings. You put DC power on it, those windings initialize and charge, and that spins the rotor. On a stepper motor, you have opposing pairs of windings. So when you charge one winding, it only moves a certain amount of rotation, and then that winding effectively, it runs out of winding, and it needs you to charge the next winding, and then you need to charge the first one again, and that. So you need to get it to continuously turn, you need to constantly be sending a signal alternately to each winding, and that means that each step it makes is an exact amount. So how many steps are there in a rotation on these ones?
So it looks like 3,200 is a complete rotation, or 3,600. I think it's 3,200. At least on this unit that I got here.
A huge number. I mean, that's why steppers are so ludicrously accurate. So you need to give it 3,200 pulses for it to just go once round. They're absolutely insane, and this is what drives all CNC machines and FDM 3D printers. Well, even SLA 3D printers as well.
Even SLAs,
tiny stepper motors. Yeah. Same with
printers. It's actually 6,400 pulses if you go between the high and the low.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I mean, it is ridiculous, but that's what gives us the accuracy, and that means that we can put one of these motors into the Colex unit to do the door. Now, this seems massively over the top for doing this door. Arguably, there are easier ways of doing this door with conventional motors and bits to stop it and stuff. But the major advantages of steppers is that we can control the speed at any point of its travel. So as it comes to the bottom, we can slow it down to reduce the risk of fingers being trapped. We can do the same at the top of the motion as well. I was thinking about this. One of the things that shakes the crap out of that unit at the moment is when it flies the door up. The momentum of that door reaching the end of the travel of the cylinder shakes the whole unit. And it gives away the fact that it's not made out of solid steel and needs a forklift to move it. Even though it is quite heavy. It's not that heavy. And one of my challenges going forward is actually to make this unit lighter for the next build of it. So because it is heavier than I would like it to be at the moment. So actually slowing the door's motion right at the top of the movement as well would also just take the shake out of the unit. And then we have the option of doing like a fucked up version of it, so that it sort of doesn't work properly. It sort of jitters and goes up and down a bit. And that I'm sure there is one. I'm sure there's one that's got tape on it. There's certainly used
so it goes halfway down.
Yeah, it might be in Levski. Like where you go and get the you go down to get the illegal missions off the guy at the bottom, the drug dealing missions. I'm pretty sure there is a Covalex unit there that you have to drop drugs off to that has a door held together with tape. And it sort of like judders a huge amount and then decides to open, then closes a bit and then opens again. So there's all of that. That's in game. It's actually in fiction. So we can kind of make these really fucked up units just with the programming.
So I think there's this big blue one that this fabrication company made, and it smashed one of the yellow Covalex boxes. It's a disaster.
I heard that. Let me find that picture. Well, it'll be on the one on the tweet from today. It's a fantastic image that VMX made for us, and it's so funny. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Tribute to a smashed Covalex unit.
Indeed. There it is. There it is. Completely crushing a Covalex box, which,
squeezing out the juice. I love it.
Exactly. I never realized that Covalex boxes were full of yellow juice. But I love it. I love the clearance structure. That's so brilliant. While we're on this screen, we should talk giveaway because
giveaway.
Giveaways are always good. So those of you will notice this is the same thing we gave away on Wednesday, and you'll go, well, did you not give it away? It's like, we did, but we have 5 of them. This is all the event detritus we've managed to gather up over the years, and I went through all the stuff we had and went, I've actually got 5 of these things. So it's like, cool, so we can do a set of 5 things. So it's the 2949 CitizenCon brochure, a 2948 lanyard, some stickers, the little dude, playing cards, a pen, Star Citizen pin, and a Kraken pin. Basically, we have in this little set. So I can get that going.
So I did get one of the little guys from you a little while back, from way back, when I first was introduced to JRDF, and I was gonna make like a clear stand for it. I got a little touch light that's perfect. Just guys stand right down there. I gotta say, JRDF has ruined me for everything because there's not enough detail. There's not enough detail on there. I got to make my own. It'd be way better.
No, it's interesting. So, I mean, to be fair to that little dude, he is indestructible. I mean, he's made of the rubberiest plastic in the world ever, China special. And yeah, you couldn't break it. But I think it's like one of the original Explorer models that was on. Like one of the original adverts, I think the one where they leaving the footprints. I think it's that Explorer armor.
The Kilo commercial.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what.
Yeah, they were coming off the elevator, and they got the Ursa rover or RSI rover in the background.
Yeah. Oh, how far we've come!
Oh man.
So let's start this giveaway. So before I start this giveaway, I will say that subscribers get 10 tickets, followers get 1 ticket when you raffle. I think it's raffle. It'll tell you when we start it. If you get a ticket and then subscribe, you can't get any more tickets. We have discovered this in the past. So if you want to have your 10 tickets, you need to subscribe before you ! Raffle. So I shall say that in my little disclaimer before I start it. It is now started. We'll run it for an hour because it's a cool prize. I am so fucking excited for CitizenCon. I can't tell you. It is going to be really exciting because this is the first CitizenCon I will have watched since 2016, I think.
Oh yeah, right. That's right. I haven't seen it since 2018. Thanks to you,
because but this is the thing, isn't it? It's like people are like, oh, well, you're at the event. It's like, was I? Oh, okay, good. How did it go? It's just like I remember waking up in Manchester.
Yeah. I know little bits and pieces of memories. I was definitely there. I think I'm fairly certain.
It comes back to you in flashbacks. You don't get to see anything. And I actually saw more of. I saw all the keynote of 2017 in rehearsal. Because we're doing the box and a lot of stage stuff that year. I did see most of Chris's keynote in the rehearsals.
Gotcha.
So that was quite cool. But none of the other panels are rehearsed, or they're not rehearsed on stage, I should say. I'm sure they do rehearse them and on their own time, but they're not done on stage. So to see all the panels live will be kind of cool. To say the least. So I'm looking forward to that. Tony
Z, man. I can't wait to see his update.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to see what, I know some of the things that's going to be in it, but, there's a hell of a lot we don't know. And, excited to see new system. I really hope we see new system in a lot more detail than we have. I mean, when you consider, this is not me knocking CIG in any stretch, like, we saw us flying into Pyro 2 years ago now. That's all we've seen. I kind of want to see all of Pyro. I'm really looking forward to Pyro. I mean, fingers crossed, by the end of the year, we might have some big hauling ships coming with the cargo refactor. Did see that the whole sea's in like Gold Pass or something. And the whole A. I'm going to be picking myself up.
And refueling.
Definitely.
So that's
yes,
cool.
And refueling. I mean, and shall we talk about medical stuff for a moment?
Yes. Finally. I'm so excited about it. I know there's going to be a lot of butthurt people, and they're like, I just want to respawn like every other game. And it's like, no.
Yeah. No, motherfucker. Well, no, but to be fair, you can still respawn. But you just lose all your shit. Now, that happens in
You lose all your stuff. That's every other game. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I am super stoked for it. I think it's a long time coming. It gives you incentive to play with your friends. It gives you a little bit more of excitement. If you're going down to the bottom of a cave, you get hurt or fall down or do things. Just so much more depth to the gameplay now because of that. In my opinion,
I think the whole thing of I can see the disadvantages are obviously I don't think the freelancer will ever be used again because the ladder is too dangerous and it's not worth getting near a ladder at any point.
Everything with the ladder is going to be like. We ban you now.
And one of the things I did laugh at the scenes guy, like if you break your arm, you won't be able to use a ladder. It's like you mean like the rest of the fucking time. I mean, it's not. It's not like so. That's what I've had a broken arm for the last 4 years. That's my character. I just had a broken arm.
No, I get it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so do you think they'll sneak the Apollo into the keynote? That's a good question. Actually, the Apollo is one of those ships that. I don't think there's anything about the mechanics now that would be still needed for the Apollo. I mean, it's just So I assume, going by what they had at what they talked about, if the Cutlass Red is a tier 1 and the Carrack is a tier 2 medical, you'd assume the Apollo's a tier 2 as well.
Tier 2, yeah.
Yeah. So the same sort of ability as the Carrack for medical, but just the medical bit of it, which would make sense for the size. And then maybe more beds as well. So maybe 4 med beds plus the big scannery thing, all that kind of stuff. That would be very cool. I'm looking forward to the Apollo, actually. I think that's going to be a cool ship.
It's gonna be a very specific and very useful ship to have in all of your operations, in my opinion. I think with
T1 up to T3, interesting.
Yeah, really modularity. That's interesting.
I know the Endeavour had that. I know the Endeavour could be a tier 3. If it wanted to be. Yeah. No, interesting. Find out. Research immediately.
For Carrack.
But no, yes.
Fly, my pretties.
So 2 T2s or
Tier
4
3,
T1s.
okay, yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, the
Oh,
Endeavour
I
module,
see.
I think will be tier 3. I think that's a huge
Wow.
module though. On the Endeavour modules are fucking huge. I cannot wait for the Endeavour. I know that James is an Endeavour owner as well. I'm an Endeavour owner. It's one of those unfortunate ships. Just in case one's in the shop.
Can I borrow one of yours?
No, but that's the thing with the Endeavours. It's like
Nope.
nope. The problem with the biggest issue with the Endeavour is I think it's going to be literally the last ship we get in game because it needs every single fucking mechanic. Because all of its modules do different things. It's just like, but we want the Endeavour. It's just like, no. But I tell you what I would really like, and I know I've said this before, it's like I really, really like after Squadron, episode 1, maybe episode 2, for them to do a different single-player game other than Squadron as a more of a Star Trek exploration-based single-player.
That would be cool.
On an Endeavour or something bigger, do you know what I mean? So you're actually, and very, very much, I like it to be a Star Trek Voyager themed thing. So for whatever, they find a new jump point that's only one way and it takes them into somewhere and they need to find their way back and all this kind of stuff. I would play the shit out of an exploration Star Citizen single player. I will probably play Squadron. I know that sounds bizarre. I will watch the shit out of other people playing it, but I don't actually know whether it's the sort of thing I will stick on ludicrously easy just to see the plot of it. But it's just like I don't think I'd have. So I used to do this with like Half-Life and stuff. You just stick it on medium or whatever or easy just to go through it as a plot, as a story. Because I just didn't have the time to stick it on hard and actually battle my way through it. I just wanted to play it like a movie. It's just like I think Squadron's going to be the same. I just want to see it happen. So I'm really hoping, and I'm sure someone will.
Okay.
I think someone hopefully will play it all the way through and edit it down to just be a film of Squadron. I think that'll be absolutely amazing.
No, they do that anyways. So.
No way. And there'll be some ludicrous people that'll do like a speed play of it in like a day or something. I can't remember how long Chris said it was going to take. I can't remember.
But I also, if I understand this correctly, you get different rewards in the persistent universe by completing different missions in Squadron 42. So if you're just, checking it out for the storyline, sure, you're going to see the story and you're going to get the thing and it's going to be great, but you're not going to get anything for it. You know what I mean? You might get your citizenship because you finished it, but, as far as like going to see a specialist that, can make a special modification for your ship or something like that. They were kind of talking about that kind of exclusivity by, going in a different direction in some of the branching pathways. You know what I mean?
And that is awesome. I love the fact that tying the two things together. Well, because it's all one game, isn't it? I remember that from the beginning. It's not two games, it's all one game, and there's the proof. God class, the loaners for both are useful and short. Yes, because you get the red and something else, don't you, for the Endeavour? You get quite a lot of loaners. I'm really hoping the hell I get a hull C for my hull E as a loaner. If not, I'm going to be screaming at people. Hello, Nicotine. Starfarer, red and the Starfarer. Yeah, because Starfarer is obviously going to be quite useful. Obviously when refueling comes out as well, which makes total sense. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to. There's so many ships I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to just more gameplay loops and all that kind of stuff in game. Absolutely no doubt.
I really get sick of.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I really get sick of combat and that kind of thing. And the problem is, hauling is kind of broke right now, so it's it's tough to be able to do anything else. And you're like, all right, I've done this, and I think that's the kind of ideal for Star Citizen is that if you're sick of doing one thing, just do something else, or try a different process, And so I feel that that's the lacking portion right now because there isn't any other thing. Like if I want to go salvage or if I want to do something else, like I have mining and FPS and bounty hunting. That's pretty much the options right now.
No, that's it. And yeah, I say I can't wait for cargo refactor to be done so I can get hauling. That'll be absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I gotta say, some of the best sessions I've had. Yeah, go ahead, do stuff. Yeah. But I was going to say the best sessions I've had was, people hauling, we had a caravan of 4 or 5 ships that were hauling. We had support craft. We had, coverage. We would have scouts that would go to the area to make sure there wasn't people there. It was just a ton of fun. And we were literally just hauling stuff, from one spot to the other. It was great. So.
I'm going to go and get a box. Talk amongst yourself, you two. This is the advantage of having 2 co-hosts. You can talk to each other while I go and get shit.
Exactly. So what are you looking forward to most, James? Either in 315 or beyond.
So honestly, I finally got to sit down a couple last week, and I played some of the Xeno Threat, and
nice.
That was really invigorating, actually. I didn't play the event before that, so This was my first time, and I had some friends helping me out, kind of showing me the ropes. And I used to be kind of a seasoned player, and I felt so enamored with all the stuff, and I'm like, what do I do? And I felt like such a noob. And again, it just harps back to the community. Like everybody's just so cool. Everybody gets it. And we just did multi-crew gameplay. Hopped in some gunships, and started banging out the little flyers and the Idris and stuff like that. And that was a whole hell of a lot of fun. So honestly, I think I'm looking forward to more multi-crew gameplay and just the gameplay loops in general. But I have to admit, I never thought I would like mining. It's kind of fun. It's kind of surreal.
Mining is a ton of fun now. Yeah,
it's weird.
Well, you can see I'm in my prospector on yellow right now, so that's
okay. Looking good, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Like the Carrack.
This is where I just sit here, and when I wake up, well, when bed logging was still working, I would wake up and literally that would be the view I'd see out my window, and then I'd just go to work and start mining. It was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It was so much fun to do that. But
what are you looking forward to then? I mean,
obviously the multiplayer gameplay is fantastic. Just like you said, Xeno Threat, and having stuff for everybody to do was really, really, really fun. And turrets are amazing. Like we were using Hurricane to great effect. We were using Carracks to great effect. We were using a Hammerhead. Oh my God, we had the Hammerhead, and we had just an absolute blast. So much damn fun. I want to see that translated into exploration gameplay. I have to agree with JR on that one. The thing I'm looking forward to most is exploration. And it's the reason why my first ship is the Aquila, it's the exploration ship. And my second ship is the Carrack, another exploration ship. So it's kind of what I want to do in the game, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to, and really looking forward to having like a group of good friends hanging out, having fun, working together, and discovering new and crazy things in the game. So
definitely. Oh, absolutely. And I think the exploration gameplay for me, yes, there'll be some danger and stuff within it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a combat pilot. So I exploration, cargo hauling, that just sort of like looking for. Yes, it's gamer. Hello. How are you, good sir? I saw that you streamed. I haven't watched it yet. Congratulations. Welcome back to streaming. I genuinely missed you. I very, very, very rarely catch Gray live, but I watch all his VODs back as my background noise of working. So it is absolutely amazing to see you back, good sir. So I got a box arrived today, so I thought we might just do a very quick unboxing of what's in the box.
JR might be a dickhead, but apparently he's got some great friends.
Thank you very much for the sub, Gray. Do you like my? I will say I have the best alerts at the moment. I will. I say
concur.
That. So I basically bought myself an airbrush again. So this is an airbrush cleaning pot. If no one's ever seen one of these, with a stand and things. So I bought an airbrush, a really good airbrush, and it lasted me all of 3 weeks. I got a water Eclipse, and after 3 weeks, Leela took it because she got into airbrushing and nicked it. So
oh no!
Being a nice person, I gave it to her as an early birthday present. So because while she was here, she did me this Covalent airbrushing on the wall while she was here, and she did a dahlia over there.
Nice.
And she just really enjoyed doing the old airbrushing. So cool. I went, fine, it's your birthday soon. You can have the airbrush I'd literally had, and I'd never used it. I didn't use it once. So she took it. So fine, all the gear that went with it, but fine. She's used it.
So the first day that she had it, she's done more with it than you. Is what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. I was really busy at the time, and just like so, I'd had it, and I'd put it together and stuff, but that was it. So that was it. But it's like there's a project coming up that I really want to have a go at painting myself. Because it's a very large build, got lots of black color and stuff. So I thought, yeah, fine. Hose, so braided hose. These are really nice from a point of view of not twisting up. I've gone 1/8 to 1/4, so it fits my air system. So that's cool. The actual airbrush. Oh, something up in here. More airbrush cleaner.
Hey, that looks super familiar.
Yeah. Well, the airbrush cleaner or the thing, because you just bought one of these as well, haven't you?
I do. I have that and the exact same cleaner too. Yeah, I want to grab some of that two-parter clear coat stuff that you got, because that just works wonders. And then I could print some of my own canopies and replace like the arrow and the
oh yeah,
I have a couple of the freelancers too. Yeah, so
yeah, that
would be super cool.
One is absolutely amazing.
But that's another thing that's building into the workshop. There's going to be a painting area. So
it's very good stuff. So Brim is right in that I actually do already have an airbrush here. So this is my other airbrush. This whole airbrush kit, this is like a little terrible air pump. This entire airbrush cost me £25. And it's the airbrush I bought deliberately to basically do the clear coating on the screens, because I'm putting hideous, horrible paint through it. And it's that whole thing of, if I break it, I don't fucking care. And it doesn't require any kind of accuracy. It's more convenient than a spray can, basically. And I don't use the compressor. I just use a compressor as a stand, and I just hardwire pumped it into my big compressor. So yes, I do have that, but I don't really use that anymore because of the 2K stuff. The new stuff is... it just comes in a 2-part can. Yes and no. I never even attempted to use paint through it. It was the cheapest airbrush I could find, so it's probably awful. These Eclipses are 150 quid, something like that. But they are really nice. I say Leela's had a lot of fun with hers. It is the recommended one by a lot of people as a starter airbrush. It's not the best, but you could spend £1,000 on one if you really wanted. But I think this is a good general middle ground airbrush. I don't know if there is actually the chart. There isn't the chart, so there it is. So this is the chart of where this is good. I might have to do that. There we go, better camera. So you basically have extreme detail, fine, medium, wide, and extra wide. So this Eclipse covers all the yellow bit. So it's a really good middle of the range brush for pretty okay at fine work all the way to fairly wide stuff. I'm really kind of more at this end for what I want to be doing, but I didn't want to go extra. Extra wide is basically a very small paint gun. It's just like it's like a miniature paint gun. I actually have a miniature paint gun, but yeah. Oh, great! You'd be interested in this. So we have finally signed or in the process of signing a lease for a workshop. That's not my garage, and it comes along with a full automotive spray booth that you can
immediately. But if you insist, we will look at the
What a name!
Flying Book Willie, thank you for the follow. So it comes with a full automotive spray booth that you can fit a minibus in, or like a Ford F-250 sort of size thing, and paint it. It's fucking huge. And huge 3-phase extractors, full ceiling and floor vents and everything. It's absolutely insane. So we're actually going to be able to paint really big things again, which is super awesome. I also bought this. In hindsight, because the little spray pot came with a holder I probably didn't need, so I bought it anyway. So I've got a little desk clampable holder for my airbrush. I thought would be quite useful. So I can kind of put that on the desk. I suppose that wants to be the other way around, which I thought would be quite handy. So what I also had to buy is I need a new air regulator because I have air coming into this room. So the laser has air. So over there, we have a regulator with air for the laser. And then my pressure pot has to have a hose that goes along the floor underneath the thing. And then when I want to use it, is it that? Okay, with my there we go. It then has to drip all the way on the floor to the one in the 3D print room. And I have one in the 3D print room because I use like a little air blaster to 3D prints and stuff. So that is less than convenient. So I thought, well, since I am getting an airbrush as well, I would get more air hose. So we have more air hose. So I can actually plumb in a dedicated regulator for my airbrush and a new point for the pressure pot. So we've got a little bit more organized in here with regards to air supplies, which is kind of cool. So I thought I'd do that as a quick unboxing. So I will post pictures. We might do some live painting. Me and Drew can do some live learning how to paint shit.
That would be awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
We should probably have we should definitely not have a professional painter on.
No professionals in the chat. Videos. No way. They'd just be like, what are you doing? Oh my god.
What are you doing?
No, it's so wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like awesome. Fun. We could be really rubbish. It does. We could be really, really rubbish. So that's they're my purchases. That's what I've been spending.
I need a good excuse to play with it, so that sounds right.
Well, that's it, and it's I really would like to be better at painting. So yeah. So the other thing I made is this.
I was wondering what that was. I saw that making on the CNC.
Yeah. So what do we think this is? Prizes for what this is.
Are we included?
Yeah, no, right?
Yes, it's a laser.
I hope so.
Not quite. It's not quite.
Oh, it's the thing you pull out of the pressure pot. It's got a handle so you can pull all the things out of the pressure pot.
Exactly, because one of the issues I've got is that this pressure pot is relatively deep, and I want to be able to to basically drop all the casts in at once and then close the lid. So this is my extracting shit out of the pressure pot build. So we have here all of our Carrack things. So for all those who haven't been with us, the Carrack has a really, really cool bridge on the Carrack model, to say the least. So the Carrack's bridge has, I can get this out, a 3D printed internal bridge with the mezzanine and the pilot seats and everything, itty bitty bridge. We use one of these molds, we put that in the mold, and then pour tinted resin into it, so we end up with the whole nose. This is not a clear one, obviously, this is a master. The whole nose of the Carrack clear with the bridge cast inside it. So we actually get the proper kind of nose of it. I don't have one, which is really annoying. I should have one though. Oh, that's right. It might be in that box. One moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a relatively organised workshop in here at the moment.
When I see this attention to detail, you had me at hello.
I was just going to say, like, you know, JRDF does not half-ass anything. Not anything. And when you see the detail in that Carrack bridge, it's just mind-blowing. It's so tiny. It's so amazing. Like, just mind-blowing. I love it.
There we go. So that is one of the bridges with... So this was a failure because if you look in the top here, there's a little, I don't know if you can actually, there's like a little swirl of stuff inside it, and it was my impatience. So I sanded the back of this and then poured the resin in. Effectively, I just collected the dust. So there's like a swirl of sanded dust inside it. But
no
that's
way.
why it didn't end up in the kit.
That's really funny.
But yeah, you can sort of see the bridge cast inside. You can see the little things, and there's obviously the blue tint to it. So this is the nose you get in the kit for the Carrack, which is really, really cool. So obviously, casting each one of these individually was not really really doable. So we made a master with 5 Carrack noses on, like that. Obviously, since we've got the Carrack
Brimstone
here,
says, I see your finished version of the Carrack bridge is a really great prototype of the 600i bridge, the same concept.
Yes, and well, interestingly, not only that, of quite a lot of other ships. This has been something that's genuinely prevented us doing certain ships. Because of the issues we've been having with the details on this sort of stuff. So to being able to cast things inside solid resin and stuff is really good. One of the interesting blockers to this is because I am frighteningly allergic to the clear resin we've used in the past, like anaphylactically dying sort of allergy to it. So it's been finding a resin that I can use safely. I'm allergic to very few things. This I am, horrendously allergic to. So we did a master with 5 on, and then over the last few streams, go ahead, just the 400. So this is the interesting thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, obviously we do know about ships that are coming." CIG in general, when they do a new ship, we get to see it in game literally weeks after they've actually finished it, to the point that we would need it to be able to make a model out of it. So we don't actually get a huge amount of knowing what's coming. Doesn't actually help us create models any quicker, really, because we need. That's why there was an ice cube at the last CitizenCon rather than a model Carrack, because there was no model for us to make 3 months earlier, which is when we needed it, so we couldn't do it. And that's the only reason that there was an ice sculpture rather than the JRDF model.
And nobody can compare the details of the engines with water.
No, exactly, because the Carrack juice has now melted. So this is what we've got here. So we have our awesome holder there that can hold 35. So we can now cast 35 of these at once, which is kind of cool.
Actually,
do we dare?
GHG, I have a model of the 404 printed right here. It's it's pretty cool. I shouldn't have showed you that. Sorry.
What to do for.
It's everything I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's just a small
so
version. It's only the 1 to 500. So.
Oh yes, that's a good point actually. Great words I've seen. Miguel
It's
get
got so
a
much
little
detail.
freelancer Max.
Looks just like the concept. It's amazing. I actually do have some really cool stuff right here, though. I want to see.
What?
That is a 1 to 200 Ursa. It's a 1 to 500 Ursa.
Oh my god.
That's as big as my pinky nail.
It looks like a Monopoly player piece.
It does. And then we got, this is a 1 to 100 fella. And I found this guy. This guy was living inside the bottom of my wash tank for about a month. I found him one day when I had to use the basket. He shows up at the bottom. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So, yeah, we got the R&D department is in full swing over here. So I'm having some fun with stuff. Yeah, he's super clean. Exactly, GHG.
So one of the things, Gray, that we've had going on since we last spoke is we now have the little itty bitty 1 to 500 ships
so
on
cool.
sale. No, you're a Max fan. These go alongside the Carrack, which how fucking big the Carrack is. It's just
big
such
ship.
a fucking beast. So yes, we've done the Max. We've done the little Cutlass Black. Get his engines straight because obviously they're VTOLing engines. But yeah, we still managed to get. Oh yes, you have one of these as well. We still managed to get really, really nice detail on these little models. We're really pleased with them actually.
I gotta say, the
engines
rotating
actually
engines is
do
key though. That just
VTOL
is
and
cool.
stuff like that. So
So cool.
I do like those. So yeah, we did.
And see,
the
that's
red
where I got to
and the
learn
black.
painting, right? That's the
Yeah,
metal
I'm
just
wash
happy
with
to
that,
blame
or the
JR
metal
immediately.
coloring of the wash.
But if you insist, we will look at the evidence.
Has been.
Has been.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the follow.
Yeah, no, and we've also done itty bitty arrows. So the arrow is so small that we couldn't do like different flight states. So the diorama comes with 4 arrows, 1 landed and 3 in flight because these are just so fucking small. So this is a really cool new resin that we've got called Tough 2000, and it means you can print these ludicrously little chips. So that's the obviously the Pisces to go in the Carrack.
And that's Lupercal did the painting for those?
Yes, he did. They're absolutely awesome.
Very good
So you
job.
get a little C8X to go in the little to go in there. So yes, so that's all coming very nicely. So yes, so do I dare do all 35 at once on first go? I'm going to guess no. So how many shall we do? We're going to do them right now. How many shall we do?
So you got the different resin, right? So this has the longer pot time.
Yes,
the-
so
the
we got
6 instead of the 5, I think it is.
326.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so we have 10 minutes.
JR might be a dickhead, but apparently he's got some great friends.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Brimstone.
much for the sub, Brim. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's more of a case of if this goes horribly wrong, shall we just do 5? Shall we be a chicken and just do 5?
Just do 5. I say 5 is a good start.
Because I haven't used this resin yet, so we use the faster stuff that have not used this stuff, and yeah. So we're going to chicken out and just do 5.
Sorry.
because yes. No, I mean, guys are doing a.
There's always something to learn, right? So
There is always something, and we've never cast into these 5-weight molds either. We've only ever done it in the
singular,
single
yeah.
Yeah. So first thing we need
Resin time, resin time, resin time. Sorry, that's from a YouTube channel. I did give you that link though, right?
It's some bridges.
There you go. Did you hear the Resin Time song or no?
No, I did not hear the Resin song.
Oh, because so I watch a YouTube channel and they do things in resin like all the time. It's called Kate and Evelyn, or Evelyn and Kate, something like that. And it's funny because I think they're extraordinarily allergic to some of the resin too, because they get these huge masks with the air handlers, attached to them. They look like astronauts. Yeah. And, they do everything they could possibly do in resin. They literally copied a record in resin and it worked.
Oh, wow.
Blew my mind.
Oh, yeah, that should do. I mean, you can take a fingerprint in resin quite easily.
Really?
With oh, yeah, absolutely. Resin is ludicrous. I mean, when you actually cast... Oh, no, we've lost James.
Yeah, I don't know where he went.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
He's just.
I got chat, so I like the dynamic, shuffling here. It works pretty good. Well, I think we lost your video though.
So what we're going to helps if I've actually got the camera on what the fuck I'm doing.
Hello, Whiteboard, and welcome.
Welcome. So interestingly, this is the first time on one of our models that I have to do something with regards to the actual model. Hey, we've got stepper cam. Oh yes, stepper cam time.
Stepper cam.
Yeah.
Hey, NG, how you doing? Yeah.
Welcome. So I have to actually do stuff for this because I need to take these off the supports to cast it.
Oh, so I should be your dancing monkey, is what you're saying?
Well, no. This is what I mean is this is the first time I've actually had to do some of the actual model making for one of our kits because usually we would just send it on its supports. So it's right. It's fine. I've got to be 500 on it.
When you wouldn't receive it this way anyways. You would receive it with the cast in resin anyways. So
yes.
So tiny. Sandpaper. Oh my god! You can see the little. I love you can see the little supports in the railing. That is cool.
Yes, the railing's insane, isn't it? I mean, to be honest, this would totally survive as a piece. I mean, the chairs on it are a little bit delicate, probably more delicate than I would put in a kit. But obviously, because we're casting it in resin, it's fine.
Yeah.
You'll have to let me know whether you can hear whether the sanding is terrible, because the mic's on the desk. So feel free.
No, actually, the RTX is doing a really good job with that.
That's cool. I could really do with some water. Hang on.
What did you guys do? Was there some hot peppers involved? I'm sorry, I missed your grand return. One challenge. Oh no, I don't want to know. I can imagine. Oh man, I'll have to swing over and say hello next time you're streaming. It's always fun to hang out. One chip challenge. Are we gonna get the? It's moving. It's moving. Stepper's moving.
I'm trying to get it dialed in here.
No, man. 2 million Scoville units? That's insane. That's insane. Whew. I got 100K Scoville units just because I like hot stuff and I like to have a good tasting, hot pepper. I think it's just a powder, but holy smokes, 2 million is nuts. That's got
to be fatal. Exciting. Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
how about the next day as well? I mean, is that something you know about for weeks?
That's what Gray Headed Gamer was talking about. He's like, oh man. It's been a day.
Lubrical, what's up, man? Hello, Lubrical. How are you? We've been showing off your Max for Gray because he's a huge Max
we just
fan.
saw your amazing work, brother. It's awesome.
And you're amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing the Carrack in this silver and line paint job. It's going to be awesome.
Cool.
So I probably just we should try and be informative since this is a making stream. Why do we wet sand? So wet sanding is much better than dry sanding. The sandpaper, so this is the sandpaper that we give out in our kits. It's what I use all the time, hence why I'm giving it to you. Mm-hmm. And basically, when you wet sand, you get a much better. It's still wet, so it's a little bit of an unfair comparison. It sands so much cleaner when you wet sand, and the main reason for that is you're being used as a coolant is one thing, so it's not melting the plastic with the temperature, and also it's keeping your sandpaper more free of the dust. So the sandpaper isn't getting clogged up, so the sandpaper stays usable much longer. So I thoroughly recommend wet sanding whenever possible, because
it's more efficient and it makes
easier.
the sandpaper last longer.
It does. The only thing you have to be careful of afterwards, obviously, is that you wash the piece well first, because you will get a bit of a residue forming on it otherwise. But that's fine. You can wash it at any point. It's just basically, obviously, the water dries and leaves a bit of that the sanded particles in it. So I'll make sure you've cleaned that off well before painting. But that's the same as if you dry sanded it anyway. I'm aware that this isn't the best camera angle because I'm a bit too far out there, so you can't actually see what I'm doing. Now, normally I would be able to twist this off, but with it being tough resin, you really can't.
It's so much harder.
It's monstrous.
It is so much freaking harder. I am blown away at this resin. Like I don't even know if I want to like print in the old resin anymore. It's just so much more versatile.
Well,
I mean, it's a bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it.
It would be good as an experiment, but I don't think you could get this sort of surface detail.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
On the big parts,
right.
you can in the model resin. I do think this
like where
this model resin is
where the what are they called? The escape pods are. Like you wouldn't get that kind of detail in the tough.
I don't think so, and I think the model certainly paints better than the tough. I mean, the tough still paints really nicely, but I think it's less obvious. Those little flaws in it are less obvious on small stuff than on big stuff. So
makes sense. Now I got are you
combination?
So I was just asking if you still have the little glass ball in the fridge.
I don't. It's an interesting. Hello. I have a cat, apparently. How did you get in here? Okay.
That's a question. Are you going to have the cats with you at the workshop?
No. No, they're not amazingly conducive to work. Gray will know this. They aren't always the best thing as streaming companions of cats, because they don't give a shit that you're streaming. You've got peasant work to do. I always think that, like, as an owner of four cats, all you've got to do is you've got to imagine their voice and they're just referring to you as peasant all the time, because that is a cat's mentality, 100%. Right, it's cool. So they're fine. Yeah, exactly. I'm running around right now. He doesn't care.
So, hold on. There's something going on in the football game. Let me check. Bills. I can tell when the entire building starts screaming. Oh, we're in the lead, 10-6. Look at that. Damn. You can see I'm super interested in it, obviously, because I'm on a stream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that American. Well, it's a waste of time, in my opinion, but it sure entertains a lot of people.
Yeah, I follow real sports.
I'm totally on board with that. I cannot stand,
which is the only
the cricket. You know, from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that's the worst insult you can tell anybody. So
yes, cricket. Cricket is the most watched sport in the world.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mainly, thank you to India and Pakistan for that. I mean, it's
Nice.
Basically, all of our... I mean, cricket is mainly played by Great Britain and all of our ex-colonies, apart from you guys. For some reason, you guys really hate us.
We're trying to get away from that whole colony ideal, I guess.
I mean, even the ones that really have a really good reason to hate us, like India, still took our sports on.
I don't get that, but to each their own, I guess. So if anybody's interested, there is a raffle going on right now. Not a waffle, a raffle. It is for CitizenCon. What is that? 2948 swag. I believe so.
All sorts of stuff. 29. About 3
okay. So all across the board. So super awesome swag from CitizenCons of the past. And get in now. We do have a couple more of those giveaways, but there's only one giving away right now. So do the ! raffle to get in.
Indeed. I don't know how long there's left on it. I can't see a timer from here.
Do you need a timer? There you go.
I should just put it up on screen so you can see what is in it.
Hey, makes it way too much easier.
And 12 minutes left. I'm gonna let this cat out before she eats me.
Yes. Did you switch sides there, James?
Did it? Oh, you know what? I think I moved everything into OBS. I think it flipped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm backwards now.
Yep, I can't read the JRDF.
Let's fix that. That's important.
So yes, lots of swag, lots of awesome swag. I say it's stuff we've collected as event detritus from many an event.
Feed me, exactly. It's Mirror Universe, James.
It's working now, right?
Oh wow, we've got camera in camera. Oh, that's awesome. This is like so many levels of cameras now. Cameras and cameras and
levels of camera-ness. I love it. That's perfect.
It was funny. There was a house put up for sale. There was a house put up for sale in Scotland. Oh yes. Oh, that's the XR1.
Yes, I'm so excited about this thing.
So
it's a captured card pass through. What's that, sir?
Nice. Do you reckon is it better than the Elgatos?
It's cheaper.
The Elgatos are all right. I found. Yeah, cheap is good.
They're all kind of the same. I actually had an Elgato. I have an Elgato capture card that sucks, and then it's an external. But it's a USB 2, so it's like meh. And then I got the AverMedia Live PCIe card. I had that in my system for a while, and it was garbage too. Like I couldn't figure out the settings. It would lock up. It would lose signal, and I'm just like, I don't understand. Like this is hardware. It's supposed to be 10 times better than just running it in software, and it's garbage. So I sent that one back, and so this is my third try on a. I love EVGA. Most of my stuff, I do have EVGA GPUs. they were kind enough to send me a brand new one when Star Citizen fried my last one. And yeah, I'm just loyal to those guys. They had a really good deal on it. It was one of their Friday stream specials, and I was like, dang, I need one of those. I didn't win one, so I bought one.
Fair enough.
So I'm pretty excited to try it out. Although I do have to get my streaming PC back from my buddy, who I have to fix his PC because he broke it, and it's sitting right over there. And I'll have to figure out what the heck he did to it and fix it and get back to him so he can give me back my streaming rig. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, you nice, kind
What a good
person.
friend, though.
You nice, kind person.
I try. I built the computer from the first place like 10 years ago. And, now I'm automatically his like tech support. And I'm just like, normally people charge you for this, right?
It's like family rules.
So annoying. But he's a good friend of mine, so I'm happy to fix his computer.
So I was taught a long time ago, mates rates should be higher than your normal rates. So you should always charge your mates
Agreed.
because you tend to give them much better service. So
way better service, yeah. No, I concur.
So
and literally, it's probably just going to be a reinstall of Windows. Like, it's probably not a big deal. But he just gets into the weeds and just like starts hitting buttons and pop-ups, and he's like, I clicked on all this optimization software and it should be running faster. And I'm like,
I tend to give my mate
service.
Yeah.
I'm struggling at the moment. My main PC will not do the latest Windows update. It just fucking refuses.
Really?
So it's just like, so I need to just will not do it. So I need to reinstall Windows. Like, how long do I have to wait till Windows 11? Can I not just wait and just do it then?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to install the first version of that anyways. It's like every other OS, it takes a couple updates to get it stable.
Yeah, well, no, God, come on. When has Microsoft ever put anything out that wasn't stable?
Every time.
How dare you? It's like saying Star Citizen has bugs. It's all lies.
What? No. It's all features.
I know, right? It's all features. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and stick these in the cure just for a little bit, just to dry them off, because I don't want to get any water inside the resin.
Roger that.
Let's stick these in here.
We will obviously let you know if you win, and we will say hi to Kaz for you, of course. Catch you later.
Will do. Right, okay. So that's that. We've dusted those off, dried those. Let's move precious models away before we break them.
Now you really do look like a newscaster there, James.
Yes. I love it.
Instead of the CRT, now it's like modern times.
Yeah, you brought in the 21st century. Breaking news.
Right. Right. So, what's 1/7 of 220? Someone calculate that for me, please.
1/7 of 220. 31.42. Or 31.42857114.
I'm just going to call it 30.
Okay.
Close enough. Just from a point of view of how much resin I need to mix. That's already an annoyingly small amount.
Would you be better doing two of them then?
But then I'd have to do
or having like the one extra on the side there for funds.
Would that help us? Suppose we could then do 50 mil. Well, let's have a look at the graduations on this.
It would kind of be your control, right? So if that one comes out great and all the other ones are screwed up, you'll know it's the process versus something you did.
That is true, and I've already got a thing in it, haven't I? Yeah, let's do that. And the other thing that I'm also conscious of, when you mix, a certain amount of resin is going to stick to this cup, and it's that whole thing of yes, we can sort of scrape it out as we go, but every second is going to count here. So I need to kind of work out how much is going to stick to this cup. I also don't want to waste this resin because it's really expensive. I mean, it's about half the price of 3D print resin, but it's still expensive enough. Let's just take this out and give this a quick sand. Just going to dry sand
Jackbird,
this so I don't have to...
There is just a few final steps to get the Carrack on the shelves. But we want to have the Carrack available, so at least 100 units available on the shelves when we open up sales for it. So it is coming very soon, but it does take some time to print these things. And that's we talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the stream, and that's where I'm coming in to help and print some of the Carrack bodies so we can get that out the door a little bit quicker. Because it is a 24-hour print. It takes quite a bit of time and resin. And, if we split the workload between us and, or me and JR, then we can do it twice as fast. So that's kind of the idea. But it's still going to take about a month from now, I would say, before it's going to go on sale.
Yeah, and we may put it on sooner if we can. So to give you an idea of where we are in printing, they're the cargo pods prints, so there are many boxes of those. So there's basically 100 of all the parts now, so that's all the little vehicles and things, lots of Carrack sticks.
Carrack sticks.
So yeah, all of
TM.
Carrack sticks. TM. These are the boxes that are looking a bit empty. So these are the fuselage boxes, and there's another one back there with the afts in. So we've only got... they are printing though. Printer's wearing away. That is doing forward sections. The other one is doing afts. So they are printing, but we're basically waiting on those. The other thing we are still waiting on, which is why we can't set an actual date right now. We will set a date as soon as we have this. Is, let me just open it and I'll put it across.
That would be amazing. Carrack sticks in orange.
Should totally have done them in orange.
Totally. Is there orange? I don't even think there's orange resin though.
No, but you can dye. You can get the dyeable resin.
Oh,
There's
that's right.
Full nuts do a dye pack resin, so you can have any color you like.
So you could do like
3D printed.
Go ahead.
So this guy did these 3D printed Doritos that were perfectly.
That's right.
They're absolutely amazing.
See, do we just make it Dorito color?
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
But I was saying right, and I was thinking the model resin was pretty close. Anyways, you could get that orange pretty quickly, but then you wouldn't have the strength in it.
Yeah. So the other update we have of the Carrack. Go to the right screen, John. The other update we have of the Carrack is its instruction manual, which is really cool.
Beautiful work.
So we have Haskahara done some amazing screenshots for this. So there's obviously this one and this one is a double spread. It's a 40 page booklet. It's fucking amazing. We also have some of our crazy in-law stuff. So we have a name for our Carrack, which is the Clara Barton. So this is named after an actual amazing woman called Clara Barton. So it tells you a bit about her, a bit about our Clara Barton, and then instructions of how to build it. There's a lot of magnets. Be prepared for magnets. There's 60 magnets on this.
Of magnets.
It's so many magnets. Obviously, do all its landing gears, all its thing. More beautiful art spreads, more magnets. The windows. So the reason this Carrack stick exists is so you can insert the window pieces inside. Now the idea was for this that you can insert the window pieces after you've painted the fuselage, so you can spray it, but then not have to mask the tiny windows to be able to light it from the inside, because it's the windows are there to be lit. So the stick is used to insert all of these window pieces after the fact, so that you could have already sprayed it.
So it's funny you mentioned that too, JR. I was looking at my Arduino kit, and it comes with a whole set of lights. So you basically can control an Arduino and have it light up in different areas, and you can control it, but like you can use multicolor LEDs. So if you want to make it red or blue or whatever,
nice.
you can do it that way. Yeah, it's really neat. So I might have to play around with that a little bit.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this gives you a bit of an idea of why there's so many fucking magnets on the ship. So much is adjustable on it. So obviously you've got landing gear, ramps, the actual garage is modelled on the inside, but there is a tiny little Ursa rover that goes in it. You've got the bridge, which may one day be replaceable with an armoured bridge. You've got the cargo pod. You've got the scanner arrays, because our scanner arrays you can actually pose outward. So that's it in landed state. And then another set of all the other things to be able to put the aerials up and the turrets facing other ways and these deployed turrets and flight wings. And so and because it's all on magnets, you can keep changing all this stuff. So it needs all the magnets for good reason. And all the amazing people that have been involved in making this Carrack a thing. It's been one of the biggest
I'm just happy to blame JR immediately, but if you insist, we will look at the evidence.
Sir 83.
Sir 83.
Thanks for the follow.
So it is genuinely getting there. Now we should draw the winner.
Indeed.
We have had 126 tickets. Drum roll, please. Since we're standing here.
I can't hear that because of the RTX, though.
Ghost and Coffee, congratulations.
Ghost and Coffee. All right, nice. We need a drum roll sound effect.
We do need a drum roll sound effect, definitely. If you can email Cal's your postage address.
Nice.
That would help if I was typing on the right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Can you type Cal's email into the chat for me?
Yep, you got it.
Because my keyboard is not attached to the computer. Right. Okay. So that's cool. So Drew is right. We should totally need to just wash that a little bit. I don't want to get too wet. But yes, congratulations. Will be winging its way to you. Right. So if it was 30 mil, so let's do 50. Still such a small amount in this goddamn pot. I've got syringes that are smaller, but I don't know how easy they are going to be to mix in a syringe. We could weigh it. I think I'm going to have to weigh it. Right, 1 second.
So I'm curious, how many? I know that the Carrack has been a huge collective. I'm curious how many man hours JR thinks.
So the interesting thing is,
I'm curious about this as well.
On resins are, I think most of them you can get away. Right, okay. So it's mixed 1-to-1 by volume or 115 to 100 by weight. So we're going to have to do some maths. That's fine. So let's hit the right button.
It is
right. So
yeah, it is kind of interesting.
As you can see, this is definitely the least prepped area you've ever seen, Emma. It's very bad, but let's work out whether we've got everything ready so we can do this, because we have very little time to do it. So we have scales, we have cup, we have our molds. So we need to make sure our molds are ready. So let's put all our little bridges inside.
And a cricket ball for scale.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
I can't help you to tell you how big it is compared to a baseball, because I have no idea how big a baseball is. So.
Your desk looks cleaner than mine.
Sure. Yeah. It's a maker's desk. I've been listening to Adam Savage's book on Audible, and I fucking love his book. But my theory is the more I listen to it, the more likely I'll end up being a tidy person and be able to null my workspace and all this kind of shit. And it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't like subliminally made me a better, more organized person. It's very upsetting. Which means I'll have to actually.
But what matters is that you want to improve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I do completely agree with everything he says with regards to if you're organized, things always go a lot better. Right, so we're going to walk through the process before we do it, just to make sure we're ready. So this resin we haven't used before. So I'm going to be ultra cautious about how long I leave it in the pot and what have you. Because I don't want to we actually did undercook one once. Should I put I don't have any more, but literally we degassed it, put it in a pressure pot, and then I took it out of the pressure pot too soon, so all the minute bubbles just expanded and it turned it into this crazy, terrible thing. Right, so that's fine. So they're all ready. So what we're going to do, we're going to mix the resin, degas it, pour it. We're just going to pour it out of this cup. So I'm going to try and bend this cup and check it doesn't break. That's fine. So that gives me a nice pory nozzle. So that's fine. We need a mixing stick. That'll be big enough. Oh, nice. Oh, it's the... That's so cool. Love
it turned out really good.
Love it. They are just such good printers, aren't they? I do.
They really are. And
right.
I just started getting into doing my own, basically my own supports, which I've been kind of using some of your setups and learning how you set up some of these prints to really, one, minimize the surface degradation, and two, keep them nice and solid on the print bed. So it takes a little bit longer. It does, but it makes such a better print.
Yes.
And you have put some thought and some time into it, but it just makes it so much better.
Absolutely. Little bit of madness. How are you, good sir? Welcome. We're doing a bit of casting. What's
up, madness?
I should probably show you what we're casting since you're here. Since I was talking about the cast that went wrong, I'll get that out as well. So we are doing the first cast into one of our 5-way ones of the Carrack bridge for the new model. So we actually have a 3D printed bridge internals that are cast into a block of resin. So you've actually got all the seats and the mezzanine and everything in it. So we're doing our first production cast of that. So we've actually got 7 of these molds. We can do 35 at once, but we're going to try one first. So I was saying before, one of our fuck-ups was this one. So what happened there is we took that out of the pressure pot too early, and all those bubbles inside expanded and pushed all of the resin out the back of the mold. So that's
learn by failing.
Special Science Show. Okay. Nice. I remember the Halloween special that we were on with all the makeup and stuff. That was awesome.
Right.
Exactly. Got to break a few eggs. Got to try these things. Right. So that's fine. We've got our resins out. So we pre-dyed this last stream. We dyed this blue, so we've got it ready to dye. So I think we're fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour 1/2 in. So we want about 50 ml.
Now what's the pot life on this compared to the other resin?
10 minutes compared to 4 minutes.
4. Okay.
Yeah. So it's all good. So pressure pot is ready. I should probably check that it's got pressure in the line. We do. We're at 60 psi, so that's fine. We can just check the air. Yeah, we have air on the pot, so that's fine. So we literally need to pour this in.
Sure.
So we're going to put... Okay, so that's about Okay, so that's 18 grams. Get it to 20. Okay, 21. Right, okay. So we've got 21 grams of part B. So someone can do the maths for me. So this stuff is...
Would you need the ratio?
Where did I read it? Right, okay. So times 20... Oh, it's now gone to 20. Fucking hell. So 20 by 1.15.
20 times
20 by
1.15.
1.15.
23.
23. So we need this to... I know it's gone to 21. Oh, it's halfway between 20 and 21. So let's call it 20.5 times 1.15.
Okay. 23.575.
And then add 20.5 to that.
That's 20.5. 44.
44, right. So that's what I'm aiming for. So I'm going to pour this, mix it, pressure pot for 2 minutes in the pressure pot, I think, is more all that we're going to let it have. And then go for it. Right, okay. Oh, let's check the vacuum works. It does. Check we've got that going the right way. We have. Right. So what was the number again, Drew?
44.
44.
I'm looking forward to your stream madness with Miz. Be great to see you guys again.
Absolutely. Right,
Halloween, you say?
So we're mixing. We are mixing. We have our pressure pot.
Cool beans, man.
Oh, wow. That has gone entirely cloudy. That's interesting.
I'll see, mate. That's what those rings are for. I get it.
That is what those rings are for.
That makes a ton of sense. It's pretty easy to burn out pretty quickly. So look at that. Fits right in there. That's fantastic.
Fits right in. I need a cord to sort of see what's going on. I don't think you're really going to see much in there. I did have a little torch on my desk. What do I do with that? If my desk wasn't such a mess, I'd know where my torch was. So I'm going to drop this to about somewhere between 25 and minus 25, I should say, minus 30.
And this is reducing the pressure so you can remove as many bubbles as you can before pouring it, right?
Yeah, so this is degassing. We built our degas taper into this new desk so that we can...
I see that. That's cool.
Pull all the bubbles out, which is quite fun. Fine. So we're going to let this sit for maybe a minute. I'm a bit sort of like... Don't leave it for too long. So you can sort of see it foaming at the bottom there. That's all the bubbles being pulled out. Crazy drug lab.
Streaming live from Jumptown.
Right.
The lighting's a bit high for Jumptown. We might have to do some like Jumptown drug lab.
Get some blinking lights in the back, you know.
Absolutely.
But you guys did pretty much a whole Grim Hex at one point, so
yeah,
that was a cool theme.
So it's the bubbles are popping slowly. I don't want to leave it in there for too long because it will be starting to actually go off now. And the thing is, even when it's starting to go, it'll get thicker. It'll be harder to pour. It'll take longer to pour it. You know, it'll be a pain. So that's all we're going to give it. I'll let the air back in.
I mean, I have a Winnebago in my barn now, so
Yeah,
we can get there.
Who's the chap wearing the hat? The chap wearing the hat is James the Stormtrooper, the one and only. Right, okay, it's gone crystal clear.
One
again,
and
so
only.
That's good. Let's get this over here so you can see what's going on. Oh, I've not got time to do a great shot here. I do apologise. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. This is also a bit of a test of, well, I'm supposed to be able to do 35 of these, so I better have plenty of time to do 5.
Is there any detriment to having it overflow on the top like that?
No, we're going to tidy that up in a minute. So this stand is already annoying me from a point of view of it's inhibiting
the handles are in the way.
being able to pour this. Yeah. I obviously won't be trying to film it as I do it normally, but oh, that was a bit over.
Yeah, it's a little bit out of focus, but we can see what's going on.
Okay, well, we had enough resin, so that's cool. That's
cool.
That's asking a lot there. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is just get a bit of paper. It's just a stick. So what I'm going to do with this top bit is just sort of smooth it out flat. It'll create a really thin layer on this thing, but that'll easily just break off. So that's fine.
Gotcha.
So just literally just rub it flat. There's a little bit of space in the model anyway for this to sit, so we'll be absolutely fine. And once it's set, it's a hard plastic, so that's not a big deal. And then into the pressure pot we go. Oh, that is such a better way of getting stuff into the pressure pot. Loving that. Don't flip over that as we go around. Lid on.
So with the CNC, you can do the same thing, and it's faster and easier than 3D printing it.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
They're talking about your little handle carrier thingy.
Oh, yeah. So let's pressure it up.
And then this is the opposite, right? Putting pressure.
Yes. So again, this is to reduce the bubbles again. So what this is doing this time is any bubbles that are left, it's crushing them to being super, super, super tiny. Sort of a 60th of the volume, pretty much as sort of a normal bubble. So any tiny bubbles that are there, it'll crush them down to virtually nothing. So that's cool. So that is cool. So that went in at, let's call it 9 o'clock UK time. What's it say? Right, I can feel now. It's now in the pressure pot. So what's it say for cure time? That is just all the safety stuff. That is really unhelpful, people. This is just all
Safety.
useless.
Yep, there it goes. Extraneous.
Yeah.
Now, with that amount of resin, would you be able to do all 100, or is that more or less?
Well, so we didn't really waste any on that, so that was fine. So I worked out that the full thing of 35 takes 220 mil of resin conservatively. Okay. And then I thought, well, actually, it would be better to actually have less than we need, bizarrely. These are 800 mil total, so we could do 4 pours, which is obviously 140, which would be great. So I thought, well, actually, to save wastage, if I actually just do 200 mil, if I did run out, it doesn't kind of matter in a way. So say I only did a 34 one time, but didn't waste any resin, that would be better than having 35 done and wasted resin. So I'm actually going to hit for under and just go 200 mil, so I get 4 lots out of each pot. Because that'll mean, you can get bigger pots than this. This is about 45 quid's worth of resin. So I mean, it's not cheap stuff. It's cheaper if you get the bigger stuff, but the bigger stuff is 280 quid for a fairly large pot of it. The problem we've got is that we're having to dye this blue for the Carrack. So once we've dyed it blue, we have to have it blue. So
gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it kind of makes sense to get this. What I might do is talk to the company and see if we can get kind of a bit of a discount to buy lots of small ones and try and get them at the same. I had that before. They do it at the same price as the big one for lots of little ones. Although I think that's because the big one was out of stock. Yeah, Gundas, that's interesting you say that. So Drew doesn't know this yet. Or James. Yeah, I know, right? We're probably going to be stopping or pausing the Wednesday streams for a bit starting in October. 2 things mainly, reasons for this. One is that obviously it takes quite a lot of time to do 2 streams a week. We have kept that up, sort of pretty well. It's a lot of setup and stuff because of the new workshop and the lease on the new big space. We're going to be prepping for that, so we're hoping to move in on the 1st of November, leases allowing. But we also want to. We're sort of coming out of COVID-ish, sort of. We are. When I say coming out of COVID. We're assuming that events like Gamescom will be happening next year as live in-person events. So that means we need to start working on things like that now. We need to be talking to companies, finding a client to do Gamescom. I really want to do Gamescom next year. I desperately want to do Gamescom next year in some way, shape or form for somebody. So we need to start that process of finding clients, getting stuff started. The build should hopefully start early next year. So we need to get the shop up and running in time to start building stuff. So that's going to be fairly intensive, and I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be at the workshop. So the plan is that from October, I will go down to just doing a Sunday stream, but it'll probably be a longer Sunday stream. I don't think I'm going to start earlier because I know that isn't particularly convenient for a lot of you guys over in the States and stuff. So I'll probably just stream later and I'll just have to drink more coffee. But we'll try and get some bigger stuff done. Now, hopefully, Mr. Westbrook Drew is working on a ship as well as a model for a kit model. It would be really awesome if he could maybe pick up some of the Wednesday streams, but streaming it your evening time. So
yes,
stream it
it'll be US
because
East Coast evenings. Yeah.
Yeah, and that will be really nice because you'll actually be able to find some sort of like new people that can't get to either of these streams. Obviously, these are always at the same time of the day. So we hopefully will still have Wednesday streams. Probably won't be every Wednesday. I'd also like to get our painters to do some live streaming, so Wednesdays might work for them for that. But yes, I'm here going to be streaming from the workshop 24/7 now. So it's interesting. I'll sit the fuck down. We won't be streaming 24/7 from our workshop because reasons. Most of the stuff that we're going to be doing in the big shop will be NDA type stuff, whether it be for CIG or someone else. There is going to be projects we want to do there and show off, but I think it's probably going to be more videos we take and then do them as YouTube videos and stuff, because there'll be a lot of stuff that we just genuinely won't be able to show us doing. There's a few builds that I want to do, and there's a few really random builds. Like I really desperately want to rebuild my table saw. And yeah, just scratching my ass 24/7, just sitting in the workshop, just having coffee. But I really want to rebuild my table saw because I have a table saw here and it's a really old one. that I bought as a really old one, and I've not had time to really renovate it. So I don't use it at all because, to be honest, I don't have fucking room for it. It physically sits there, but you need so much room around a table saw to actually pass material through it.
Yep.
I only use it very occasionally, and I want to use it all the time because I want to do some actual carpentry type stuff. It's so much quicker than a CNC machine for a lot of stuff. It's just to do it on a table saw, but you need so much room.
Area.
Only fans.
Yeah.
Oh, no one would pay for that.
JR, do you want to hear what I found in the Quonset yesterday?
Yes, go on.
So I went out to the house and I was just kind of looking around and seeing what they had and stuff. So there's 2 table saws, a bandsaw, a welder, a log splitter. What else was in there?
Nice.
It's just like all the industrial. There's a freaking cement saw. There's a cement saw there. Like, I'm just like, what is going on?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and my dad, he ran a construction business for a very long time, and apparently he just kept all the equipment from it. So I have like full on like industrial, like there's a jackhammer in there, a full on full size jackhammer.
Sweet. I mean, to be honest, just stand on top of the Winnebago, press go, and see how fast it takes you to get through it. That would be fucking hilarious.
Be the best video ever.
Yeah. You've got to make sure you drop with it, though, and end up through the floor. No, just keep fucking going.
Just keep going. See what's down there.
So the interesting thing is you've got the jackhammer. Do you have the hydraulic pack that goes with it? Because the hydraulic pack is actually the really cool thing, rather than the jackhammer itself. So hopefully there's one of those attached because you can run all sorts of shit off those.
Oh no, I think it's an electric one. You plug it in.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Because most of ours are like hydraulically driven, so we like run off a tractor or like a little
right.
But that's sweet. But yeah, no, we'll have a table saw meeting. We'll see if we can get.
We should, yeah, we definitely should.
have you ever used a table saw before?
I have, yeah.
Oh, good. They are probably the most dangerous thing I ever use.
They are extraordinarily dangerous. I usually like to use the extender stick, so you can just push it through without getting your hands near the blades.
Yeah. I go the other way in that I like to have my fingers as
close
to the blade as possible because that's where you're in control of the wood, and it's just like, I need to make myself more pushy sticks and slides. But again, this is the thing: I don't have room to build a proper slide for mine or anything. So I really want to do that. I want to put new blades on it as well because the blade on it is absolutely fun.
The one that Adam Savage has for his table saw, I want to build that. That's perfect. It's basically a jig and a slide all in one. It's amazing. Yeah.
To have a decent slide, at my old work, we had a panel saw. So an actual one with a full sliding bed along the side of it. And that was amazing. But it was cute because you could fit a 10 by 5 sheet on it and run it through.
Right.
So it was really, really useful. But for actually doing really small, intricate stuff, it was too fucking big. You couldn't actually get near the blade most of the time because the slide was so big. But that wasn't what it was for. But yeah, I do want to get better at using a table saw. I'd really like to set myself a challenge to build a project without the CNC. So I'd quite like to, the Tardis would be a good one, to build the Tardis.
That would be a great one, yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, it's a police telephone box from the
early. It's pretty simple, right?
Yeah. Well, no, but in that it's a replica of something that was built way before CNC equipment. So there's no reason why you can't build it not on a CNC because it was definitely not done on a CNC machine. So
yeah, we're all big Doctor Who fans.
Absolutely.
And actually, if you do you want to go into that? Actually, that's a really cool idea. I like your TARDIS idea.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. The TARDIS, I've been wanting to build this TARDIS for ages. I actually did it. I originally did a drawing for a TARDIS as a Portaloo cover for a festival that we were doing work for, but in the end, it was too expensive. Now, This is going to be scary because I've got to remember what year I drew it and therefore what year.
So the idea is, I'll fill in while he kind of finds the files. So the idea is to make this a roaming library, and you pick it up with a machine, you take it to someplace else, and you drop it off. And when people wake up in the morning, there's a police box in your town, and it's actually a workable like library, and it's got books, and you can check it out and hang out, and it's a fairly large structure, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, without getting into the obvious jokes of it's bigger on the inside,
right?
It's fucking huge.
It is large. It is very large.
It is large. So this is my quick sketch of a Tardis, I think. Oh, another one over there. Oh yes. I'm on the wrong. How do I get colours back? Tags. Here we are. Don't want colour by tag. Right. So basically, it's a library on the inside that holds about 800 books, or 400 books maybe. Can't remember. And the idea of it is that the doors have to open inward because they do open inward, so that does reduce the amount of books you can hold annoyingly. But you have to get it right. The idea is it has a steel frame inside it. And that goes up, so you can basically pull the light off the top, and under the light will be a hook eye that you can use a high-ab crane to pick up, and then pick it up full of books, put it on the back of a truck, drive it to the next place, drop it off, put the light back on, boom, it's there. It'd have batteries in the floor, so it's sort of self-powered, self-internet, all the rest of it. And that's
got to make the noise, though. It's got to make the noise.
Oh, it's got to make the noise. So the idea was that we'd kind of sneak it in to like villages and things. I think we'd sort of like sneak it into people's like little towns and villages around this area and sort of drop it in, and then kids would wake up in the morning and there'd be a Tardis sat there.
That'd be so
I think
cool.
The thing is, it's like I think it'll be more like the adults at this point going, "Oh my god, it's a Tardis!" Going,
I know what that is.
Like, and just kind of filming people like interacting with it and like not giving them any clues or cues. It just have it fucking appearing one day and people going and trying to open it and opening it, work out there's books inside it, and it'd just be like a free library basically. But yeah, it is really big. I mean, from the top of the light to the ground is 2.98 meters. So it's 10 foot.
Oh wow! Jeez,
it is really big, and it's that is actual size. The main reference for this is actual police telephone boxes. Obviously these things did exist, and they're about 4 foot square because they had to actually put people in it. Yes, that it's a risk, but not really around here, if I'm honest. We've sort of got away from that because we closed all our pubs. So there's no pubs anymore to go and get drunk in here. So it's not really an issue. You don't tend to go out after home drinking and piss in telephone boxes unless you're really drunk and accidentally leave your house without realising.
And then you'll leave your house on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. You really have to. Near Glasgow, yeah. I'm in the middle of nowhere near Glasgow. I'm in the middle of the countryside. It's fine. It's like we have no pubs, and you can't drink drive in Scotland. We have a 0 limit in Scotland, so you can't even. And there's no taxis out here. We are proper rural, so there's no taxis. So you can't actually go and get drunk and then get home anymore unless you have a designated.
There's no Uber. Come on.
There's no Uber. There's no Uber. There's no Deliveroo. There's
my God.
sheep. That's it. I live in a village of like 250 people, and that's it.
Nice.
We are properly in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, that's probably the worst thing about living here. Is that there is no takeout. There is no. Well, there is. You just have to drive 20 miles to go and get it.
Yeah,
which is what you do.
That's where I'm moving to, and really why I enjoyed living in cities, because you can just be like, I want stuff now. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I've never had that. I only had that when I was at university and lived in Edinburgh. But like, I've always lived in little villages. I love living in little villages. And it's just like I hated living. I didn't hate living in Edinburgh. I didn't enjoy living in Edinburgh. If I had to live in a city, it would be Edinburgh. Or Glasgow. I quite like Glasgow. I like Glasgow to visit. I wouldn't want to live there. I couldn't cope with not having countryside around me and just being,
well, I can't wait till you come and visit. So it's gonna be awesome.
Absolutely, I can't wait till you can come back here as well because you had.
I know, yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
How many minutes were you in my house? And I wasn't even there at the time.
Oh, I don't know. It was a good 42 minutes or so. Yeah, and then we drove another 3 hours back.
You drove 3 hours here. Loaded
I was like, oh, this is nice. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. And let's be honest, you didn't see my house at its best. Because it was
that's true. It's full of just dust and construction and things like that.
It was pretty grim, if we're honest.
It was rough. Well, I mean, you guys... we did about a lot of really crazy shit for Citizen Guy, I gotta say.
Absolutely. But yes, it is. So live in a village near a city, best of both worlds. That's kind of what I consider this to be, bizarrely. Although we're 35 miles from Glasgow, I used to commute to Glasgow every day, and it took me 35 minutes to get there because we have a motorway literally outside our house. Just the other side of the hill. We are on a motorway junction, so you are literally on the motorway. The motorway goes right into the centre of Glasgow, so we are really commutable to a big city. And it means if you want to go up to the cinema and stuff, it's just up the road. And it's I do find this the best of both worlds. But I say, people did not bring you takeouts, which is the
yes,
the issue.
That is correct.
No real. But there's a truck stop. There's a truck stop that sells alcohol, but it's not really a village pub because it's not actually open on a Friday or a Saturday, because it's just for the truckers. Freeway, yeah. But yeah. So I like living here. I couldn't live in a city. You're moving out. Have you always lived in built-up areas, or have you ever?
No. So I grew up in this house.
Yes.
25 minutes away from pretty much everything. Yeah. And, you had a lot of bonfires and cornfields. And if you like that, then, you were good to go. And when I was 20 years old, I moved out to the city, and I've been here since. And it's definitely completely different. Like, you got to deal with the sirens, you got to deal with the noise. Like Thursday night, they had construction all night, like literally like industrial jackhammering and, with a big machine, and they don't care. And I feel that I'm on the same page as you. Like, I feel it's the best of both worlds, right? You can go out, you can be, out in the country, have a nice, quiet, fire in the back, chill out, have some fun. And then you're 25 minutes away from the city and going out or having a movie or having a dinner or things like that. And if you want to go downtown, it's only 35 minutes away. So, it's like it's really, I've gotten a little bit older and those time scales have really just are less significant now, right? You're talking 35 minutes. That's simple. It's a nice, quick, easy drive out and you're good to go. So I'm down. I'm looking forward to it.
And self-driving cars are not far away, like proper self-driving cars. So I don't.
Right, level 3, level 4, yeah. So
I don't count it as self-driving if you have to have a qualified driver inside the car.
I agree, and it's fantastic to have my car drive itself to and from, but I still have to pay attention. I can't have a couple beers and go driving. I can't do that. So, but in general, it takes all that stress and all that functionality out of your hands. You don't have to think about that. You can think about other things. You can, check messages on your phone. You can do other things, and the car is just going to do its thing. And
plow into the back of a police car.
I know, right? I've been hearing that. So, and it's funny. It's funny too because it's very a specific situation. Like they're like, yeah, it's always like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's always a police car. It's pulled somebody over. They say that they have their lights on and all these things. From my experience, like you could literally have somebody like drive out in front of you and the car will avoid it. So I'm not sure what's happening with this.
It just must be Elon Musk just fucking hates cops and he won't say it's like, no, I'm going to program my car to drive into the back of every police car I find.
Yeah, and like you said, your point earlier is that you need to have a qualified driver in the seat paying attention. That's the idea. That's the whole point. So if you're in the driver's seat and you see flashing lights ahead of you and you don't move the car over to the right, whose fault is it?
Well, it's yours. Absolutely.
It's absolutely your fault, and you're not paying attention. It's your own fault. And the reason I think that this is happening is because it's so late at night, people really aren't paying attention and or sleeping in their car, and it's not doing the automatic thing that it should do because it needs user input. Is my opinion, but
it is crazy.
It's just strange. It is strange. So it's definitely going to have, it's the reason why we're still in beta. It's the reason why you still need to have a driver there paying attention. It's an emerging technology that takes a lot of field research to figure things out.
Indeed. And I also think that the legal cases will certainly have more of an impact than anything. Yep. They still need to decide who is culpable.
Who's in charge? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think that's really the reason why we're still at level 2, is regulation, right? I think the car itself can do level 3 and can actually drive itself.
As long as it doesn't come across a police car at night. I mean, that's quite a low bar.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And doesn't it also need like road markings as well?
It does. So.
So that covers A roads and B roads and motorways in the UK, but everything else doesn't have them. So I mean, it's just
they got no lines. Yeah. You need to have at least a middle yellow line in order for it to work. Because it can detect the asphalt. It knows where the road is, but it doesn't know that there's 2 different lanes. So, there's definitely limitations to the software. I'll guarantee that. And that's the reason why I drove it down to Florida and back, right? I wanted to know what limitations it was and where I can trust it and where I could have to take over. And I'm pretty sure I'm confident of where. If you're on the highway and you're just cruising along, that thing will run all day long. No problem. It'll figure out traffic. It'll ask you to move to a different lane because this guy's too slow, whatever. Like, it's very, very robust. But it's hit and miss on side streets, right? So you have, some people
that's
like
never a good description for a self-driving car thing. It's hit.
No, that's the question, right? That's why we're only in level 2. That's exactly why we're only on level 2 right now. And it comes down to, you don't know what you don't know. You're still gonna have people that, I literally have people like cut me off and flip me off because I'm driving an electric vehicle and they're shitty Jeep. So it's like, I understand that there's a lot of people that. I think that the reason why there's self-driving cars are so dangerous is because of other people. And if everybody followed the rules and did what they were supposed to do, they would make it a hell of a lot safer on the road. But I'm also, I'm pragmatic. I understand that that's asking for the world, and nobody's going to do that. So the best I can do is have a vehicle that does it itself.
Yeah, I feel personally that we are a long way off, certainly in the UK, having self-driving cars, like fully autonomous cars. I think at least 10 years realistically, because the infrastructure change that will have to occur for it to work we have really old cities with stupid ass road layouts. Fucking hell, you drive through Edinburgh, it doesn't even have tarmac. It's all cobbled streets with no line markings. It's just like, and
centimeters to spare between cars as you're driving next to each other. Like, it's insane.
You didn't rewind to tape about taking it back to Blockbuster. You rebel, you.
So now we know why Blockbuster failed. Thanks, GHG.
Fucking hell. Jeez. But yeah, no, it's, and that's the thing. I was like, I love driving. I wouldn't want to lose the ability to drive, but I don't particularly want to self-drive. Well, I do want a self-driving car for me so I can drink more. I'll be honest about that. But I want it more for my parents. My dad's disabled, so he can't drive anymore. My mum's never had a driving license. To have a fully autonomous vehicle would be such a massive thing for their independence.
Take me there.
Just like, we want to go out today. cool.
Yeah.
Just go out in the car. It doesn't matter. It just like that is the big thing for me. It is to be able to. And the other thing is when you are at the pub with somebody, you can, when they go for a piss, you can steal their phone, right, and then program their
jump in their car.
Well, no.
Take me home.
No. Better than that. Program their car to send them to fucking Aberdeen or something when you've put them drunk into that car. So they're completely paralytic. So when they wake up, they're like 300 miles away from where they should be with no charge at all. That's what I want to be able to do. That's the future. Really, really good pranks. Like, where the fuck am I? Or, guy tapping on the window asking for their passport. I mean, that's what we want in self-driving cars.
What's that? This is bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that's what I want self-driving cars for. Just to be able to send people to weird ass places. I totally sleep in my car all the time.
Yeah, and I feel that it's coming. It's definitely about, it's on its way. This is the initial startup of having fully autonomous, fully self-driving level 5 cars. You just throw your drunk ass into a car and say, "Take me home," and you show up there.
Exactly.
And it is going to take some time, and I would say that your 10-year kind of estimation is pretty accurate. Like, it's not going to be anywhere closer than 10 years.
I think we'll have trucks sooner than that. I think we'll have, especially with our current driver shortage. If anyone wants to come and be a truck driver in the UK, please rock over. Just like smuggle yourself in so you can drive our trucks, please. It's an absolute ball ache. It's something that will affect us as well, because it's like, my truck driver Bob has moved to Canada now, so I'm either going to have to
go visit him too
myself. Yeah,
he's like right around the corner from me.
Exactly. It's just like, geez, thanks, Bob. So getting event truck drivers is hard enough because it's not just drive from A to B. It's drive from A to B, unload something, load something again, be a crew chief for an hour, then get back in a truck and drive somewhere else.
Exactly.
You have to be a fairly flexible human being and be able to drive a HGV. I mean, our laws have changed or are changing, so you don't have to take 2 separate tests now to drive a heavy vehicle. So currently we have to learn to drive a rigid vehicle first, and then we can learn to drive a rigid and a trailer. So they're scrapping that, and you can just take the full test all in one go. So that will make a fairly big difference. Hopefully they will be able to if they can catch up the backlog, I will probably go in for my test next year so that we can at least drive our own vehicles around. But it's, I get it. I mean, they basically closed down our test centers for 2 years. So, surprise, we haven't got any fucking drivers because we didn't test any for 2 years. Or however long they were closed for. So, oh God. And then Brexit and then everything else. So it is a pain. It is a real pain. And I say it will affect us when it comes to events because trucking is hard enough for events as it is.
Yeah, no kidding.
And now we're going to have to technically export our trade stands to Europe and then import them back again. Just going to be a fucking pain in the ass as well.
Well, let me just say hi to Sol and thank you.
Oh, hello. Hello. Yes, you've got an old world license. So in the UK, if you had your license pre 1997, you're allowed to drive up to 7.5 ton trucks. But if you're of the younger generation, you don't get that for free anymore. Because that's all Bob had, interestingly. So all the stuff that Bob used to drive for us was 7.5 tonners. Yeah. So that was the biggest vehicle that he could drive. But it was always big enough for us when we're doing those sort of events. So that was fine. If we did bigger events, we would just hire a HGV and a driver. But they are super expensive.
Or drive back and forth twice.
Well, yeah, when we did Manchester, we were close enough just to do a couple of runs. So it was
that was easy, yeah, that's fine.
We were hiring the truck anyway. We're getting our money's worth out of it. But yeah, in the olden days, when I was at engineering, we used to buy the trailers, and so we'd have our own trailers, but not our own tractors. So we would just get a company to come and pick the trailers up and take them places for us, and just drop them off. But I bet we couldn't do that today because there's not enough drivers and free people and all the rest of it. And yeah, and most logistics firms don't like doing event work. Because most logistics firms don't like turning up to places with like
on time.
Yeah. When you give them a 15-minute window for arrival, they're like, "Oh,
right,
no,
exactly.
It'll be the day." It's just like, no. Literally, you have to be here between 10:30 and 10:45. That's our slot. And it's like
that's it.
They just don't understand the concept of that. It's like, okay, let me break it down really simply for you. We're going to an events venue, right, where you're allowed to drive the truck into the venue. That's like most venues. So obviously, the trucks are very, very big. So you have to start building the stands at one end of the building and work your way towards the other. So the people that are at the far end come in at 9 o'clock, and then the next row, then the next row, and the next row.
Gotcha.
If you miss your slot, you're unloading in the car park and carrying your stand inside. So between 10:30 and 10:45.
And 10:45, be here or else.
And it's more complicated than that, because as soon as you stop your truck, technically you're now then on a break. You're not allowed to move your truck now for 45 minutes. So when you're in a queuing system, that can get a bit annoying, because half the truck drivers are not allowed to move anymore. And it's just, it is just an absolute pain in the ass. So the easiest way to do it is have two drivers so that you can keep swapping cards, so you can keep moving. But yeah, it's if you want an easy unloading event, you have a very tiny window. Obviously, stuff like CitizenCon, it's not a problem because you're the only people at the venue, so you can rock up whenever you like, and the whole venue is yours effectively. So, but when you're at an event like Gamescom and stuff, you have this really small window to turn up if you want to be able to drive all the way to your stand, and that saves you hours and hours.
I can imagine, yeah.
There's nothing nicer than tipping your truck exactly to where you're going to be building your stand.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's lovely. It's such a good feeling.
Well, I definitely understand that. I mean, we moved all that stuff from in Manchester, had to move it from the truck through the doors, and then they closed down the doors and said, "Eddie, you got to go all the way around." And we're like, "No, that's not going to work."
Yeah, but I mean, so it's like take Manchester for example. So that venue we were at for CitizenCon, as you came up the escalator, and then you were in the bit where they had the ice Carrack and stuff.
Yep.
So the windows on your left-hand side fully open, and then the wall to your right-hand side fully open. So you could actually drive a HGV into where the stage was.
No way.
That whole thing opens up.
Yeah.
So when they were putting the big screen in and stuff, you could back the truck all the way in. So it's like most of these venues are set up to be able to do all that because it just saves you so much time. I mean, when you think that screen had 22 ton of stage weights on the back of it to stop it falling over, it's just like, and they were all hand placed, 25 kilos at a time. Onto the back of that thing. It was mad.
Insanity.
I miss it. I want to do events.
I know. It's I did it for 2018 and 2019, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, it was tough work. It was long hours. It was absolutely freaking amazing. Absolutely amazing. Just hands down.
Yeah. No, it is, and it's I'd love to say that we are Star Citizen through and through, but realistically, I'm quite happy to do events for anybody. There's quite a few other games and game companies that I would like to work with and for, and I just want to get back so bad. There is such a nice thing about building stuff at like Stuff like Gamescom is fantastic because you've got a week to put it in. So you have a whole week of Gamescom, but from the side of just thousands of people building trade stands.
Building stuff,
chatting with other guys building trade stands and just like seeing what they've built, them looking at what you've built.
Just like
the creativity of doing all that, and you help each other out. You know, things go wrong. People come up to you, go, "Have you got a whatever?" And it's like, "Yeah, there you go." It's usually when you're at a foreign place, it's like, "I have these chargers. Do you have any way of making them have electricity?" Because all the wiring's wrong, and it's just like, you're helping people out, and you go and have drinks with them afterwards, and it's the camaraderie of stand building in places like that is just amazing. And then you got things like CitizenCon, which are better in a way because it's like a family. Everyone there is doing that one event, and you're sort of involved all the way around it all the time, which is really good. And people are coming to you with problems and problem solving, and that's one of the things I love most about events is the on the fly problem solving. You've got what you brought and you put it in. You hope that all goes right, but it doesn't always go 100% right. So you have things to fix. But solving other people's problems, is really fun too. And just trying to, and there's always curveballs like Austin. It being every 5 minutes, it being a thunderstorm with 3 million buckets of water hitting you all the time, and we're building an outdoor dragonfly. It's like, why did I not Google whether that could happen? It's just like,
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't. It wasn't helped by the fact I genuinely thought Texas was a desert, which was a really bad move because it turned out it was the humidest place I've ever been in my life. And
kind
I
of
was
the opposite of
expecting
desert,
it to be really, really dry. Just like, oh, damn, I should have Googled that.
No, it's hot and moist.
It is. Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to going back. I'll be more prepared for it this time. Hopefully the installation we do is inside the air-conditioned building rather than fucking outside. I do love the fact, though, that James saw us building that at like 3 a.m. From your hotel.
He was the leak, right? You were the leak for that.
No, but I was just reminiscing. Like that's what brought me to JRDF was the fact that that was my first CitizenCon. I'm standing in line. I'm in the premium line because there was 2 different tickets at that time, and I was pretty close up to the front. And some guy cuts me in line and like convinces me, how important he is and how he's here helping for the events or whatever. Turns out it was Steven the Geek. He was telling me about some of the tech that he was doing and stuff like that. And then, so like we've kept in touch, and then it was like a bridge from there. But awesome. Really awesome guy, actually. I miss him around too as well.
Oh, Steven's awesome. We must do another big project with him. So Steven was our tech guy, 2017, 2018, and then he couldn't do CitizenCon 2019 because he booked a cruise nowhere near when CitizenCon was going to be, and then they moved CitizenCon to where his cruise was, and his cruise was with his family, and he couldn't get out of it because it was all booked, and they had to go and have family time. So he spent so much money making sure he had the most piss poor Wi-Fi on this Norwedic cruise around the fjords, trying to watch CitizenCon on this tiny little screen with terrible Wi-Fi. So he couldn't be at the event. So it's just like, so we thankfully found our new superstar James to help all the tech out. But yeah, it'd be great to get him back to sort of do a massively complicated tech build. Big tech builds are interesting because, like the Dragonfly, for example, was more complicated than people realized. It's probably more complicated than it needed to be, but the screens on it worked to a degree in that they had an MFD on them. When you pulled the triggers and stuff, the guns fired. When you pulled the throttle went. And it wasn't sound effects of it doing it. It was actually the whole Dragonfly as a game controller. So we actually had a level running on a PC so that you got all the atmospheric effects of it, running on the dirt and all the rest of it. But the funny thing was that CIG had to build us our own planet called JRDF World, which was a perfectly smooth planet with no hills or rocks or anything on it. It was just sand, a perfectly smooth spherical sand planet. So it didn't matter which direction you drove in. You could never hit anything because you couldn't see a screen. There was you weren't steering it. You were just firing the guns and the throttle and everything. But yeah, so I'll have to ask for the file at some point so we can see the JRDF world of just the the most boring planet in the world. It was basically like the Replicator planet that's made entirely of replicator blocks. It's just this perfect sphere, but with sand on it. I think that did actually have sand on it because they like moved it aside and so the floor was made of replicator blocks. But yeah, so it was that was basically it. It was the dullest world in the entire Star Citizen verse. There's got to be some perfectly boring planets. And that's one of the things I'm kind of looking forward to in a way about like the exploration phase is that there will be solar systems with nothing interesting in them unless you really, really look. It's like finding stuff is going to be really, really hard, I hope, in some places.
I'm interested in seeing more like, a molten planet that, fused and now is just a big glass ball, like perfectly flat,
Yes.
big marble in space.
I'm also looking forward to planets that we can't get to, like that are so hostile that it is impossible to get down to the surface of them because they're still Preozoic and they're just like just molten balls of lava and stuff. And it's, I think it would be cool to get to the point where people finally mod a ship well enough to get down to that planet.
Like
and then they've got their suits modded to the point where they can step out onto that planet and actually have people who are the first.
That's funny.
Nice. The Replicator world did have sand on it. There we go. Yes.
There you go.
Robin Jones, thank you very much for the confirm. I am obviously a massive Stargate fan. I'm very much looking forward to the fact that hopefully Amazon are paying for us a new series. I genuinely can't wait for more Stargate. I will be doing some Stargate builds. I do have these guys. I keep meaning to add these to the
J-Rex.
The J-Rex thing. So I actually made replicator blocks. Speaking of replicator blocks. These aren't my magnetic ones. Where are my magnetic ones?
That's awesome.
So one of them is magnetic, annoyingly. But yeah, it has... if I can hold it on the camera. So I've got a delay on this camera. To the left. Down. This is so weird. I've got like a 2-second delay. So it has little holes in the side that you get these lots of magnets in. So when they're all magnetized, you sort of throw them together and they all click together correctly. But yeah, we did one of these on the stream ages ago.
That is cool.
But yeah, so we have. I did do my. I have seen them the other day. But yeah, so we have loads of replicator. So this is one of the things I'm going to paint first with my airbrush. Because I want to do the kind of different metal effects. Because obviously replicators, I say, obviously, replicator blocks are made out of whatever metal the replicators ate. So I want to do some like rusting ones.
The rusty ones are cool.
The submarine, because
from the submarine,
yeah, they chewed up the submarine.
That was so good.
And then some non-rusty ones. I thought that'd be a really nice thing to practice painting on. I was thinking about doing a bug. And I kind of wanted. I would kind of want to build it out of loads of actual blocks in CAD anyway, and then print it out in big bits. There are some quite cool pictures of them. It's one of those things that I know Cal's would say. Cal's hates SG1. But when you actually look at them up close, they're a bit of a derpy design. The replicator bugs. You don't really notice it because they're moving around so much, but they're actually quite weird looking. Any of the Asgard ships. I'd love to do some. I'm really hoping that Stargate comes back with a vengeance and gets another big following, and will perhaps approach Amazon about doing some models and stuff, because obviously they own the Expanse and they did the Rossi. That company did the Rossi build. Yeah, so Amazon are obviously up for doing this sort of like smaller company building stuff. So I'd definitely consider it. If Stargate got really popular again, I would definitely look at doing some Stargate builds. I'd say obviously I want to do a full-size Stargate. That's not a particularly practical build to sell. That's going to be just for me. I really hope it's not a remake. I really hope it is new content.
A new one. I agree.
I was a massive SGU fan.
I loved SGU. I thought that was cool. And it was a little less campy. It was a little more visceral. It was a little more about, the people involved and storylines. I enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be a really cool series, and it just dropped. So
I think, unfortunately, it's interesting. I did see like a comparison. Why did SGU fail but SG1 succeeds? And it basically comes down to money. SG1 was really cheap. I mean, you could tell. It was fucking cheap.
Right.
I mean, basically, as long as every planet was the same quarry shot from a different side, you know, and it was just like, oh, we just moved the styrofoam gate to a different place. Whereas SGU's set, the Destiny set, was massive, and a lot of the CG on Destiny was a lot more expensive, and you know, the bridge on Destiny is a beautiful set. Whereas the SGC was just, if you actually watch if you watch it with the intent of noticing it, do you know they only have three corridors with it's just like one big C shape, just three corridors with two corners. And it's just like, oh my god, when you see it, it's like, oh shit, it totally is.
Sorry guys.
Whereas Destiny has a lot of different corridors and a lot of different room spaces in it that aren't just the same office painted different colors, and it's just so it was expensive, therefore it flopped in that it didn't make money because it needed to make so much more money.
I see.
Same with things like The Expanse. It's why The Expanse got cancelled the first time, not because it didn't get a lot of people watching, just not enough because it was so fucking expensive to make. But that's the advantage of people like Amazon, because they have infinite money to throw at it initially to get the fan base big enough for it to pay back, but it's a couple of years investment before you see it.
Right. They can afford giant space penises, so
exactly. They're giant. It's like I tried to do a 3D print of it, but I just had to go to an adult sex store and they're like, there you go, there's Jeff Bezos'
Oh, that's the Bezos. Got it.
Yes. Do you think he looked at the designs of it and went, yes, that's what I want to go to space?
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
Does it come in pink? Okay, it's brilliant. But when it comes back down, can I be riding it on the outside like a cowboy? It's just
that's right.
Yes, well, of course we'll make that happen for you.
Just for you. Just another $2 billion. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just my favorite quote. Oh, joke! I can say, but it's not a quote. Is obviously Jeff Bezos has had that commissioned that $300 million yacht, and the comment underneath it was, and Elon Musk has now commissioned a $400 million iceberg, and it's just like yes, yes. You can just see it as massive Pykrete iceberg just following Jeff Bezos' shit boat around, trying to ram into it all the time.
Why does this iceberg keep showing up in front of the ship? This is weird.
We're in the Med, for fuck's sake. That'd be brilliant. I think I really want Stargate to come back. I don't want it to be just a reboot and cameos from all the other the old cast and everything. I kind of want it to be new and that iceberg melted a long time ago.
Long time ago.
The Carrack is
the
gone.
Day of, actually. I think we were the only people to actually see it at full detail level, because by the time people actually walked in the door, it was half melted.
Well, yeah, and they kind of finished it off in front of people as part of a performance art piece, which I thought, I wish I could get away with that. I'll bring my AC2 sprayers and we'll just paint the
just be building shit in front of people, like, don't worry about it. It's all part of the show.
It's fucking cheating. No, they didn't keep. It was just, I won't get into slag.
Let's not get into that.
It was impressive, but it as I said, we were supposed to build a model of it. That was genuinely supposed to happen, but it just came down to it wasn't going to be ready for the event. But they knew that, and JC knew that way ahead of time. He's like, no, that's not going to work because it ain't going to be done. Obviously, it wasn't finished by CitizenCon either, because they still had the engines to change, and and realistically, I mean, we've been developing the kit model for a long time now. It's a big ship, and the bigger the ship is in game, the longer it takes us to do a model of it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what the kind of final size of the model is. Every one of those geometries has to be fixed, and it's thousands. You know, it is a big build. It's a lot of complexity. You know, and that's without us. If we're building one kind of 1 to 100 scale, we'd be talking about having a look at interiors as well and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and how would we do the bridge on a 1 to 100 and you know, things like that. There's a lot of unknowns. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, Corbin. They were all different. It's like I'm really worried about the new Battlestar as well. I'm a huge SG Battlestar fan, and you know, BSG when they relaunched it was perfect. I think that was one of the best reboots. Well, it wasn't a reboot; it was a sequel series. I think it was absolutely done perfectly. Just getting the next one, you know, is it going to be a reboot, a rehash? I don't know. Start saving for large printers. Yeah, we're not really going to... I mean, not to say I wouldn't like a bigger printer, but interestingly, past the point that we're actually building, like the Carrack, that's as big as we'll want to print. You know, we have this issue with printing in that we can get a much bigger printer than this one. There is the 3L, which is vastly bigger. It's vastly more expensive. It's $8,000 plus tax, plus the wash and the cure, which will be another 4 or 5. We could buy it and we could print stuff on it, but the cost of printing models that size on a 3D printer is the time and the volume of the resin, because you get massively depreciating returns when you go that big. So it's like the Carrack. I mean, the Carrack in total has £35 as in money, so about $40 odd of resin in it. So if you go up to something twice the size of a Carrack or twice the length of a Carrack, so if we say went to the 890 as a size thing, I think the 890 is probably 4 or 5 times the volume of a Carrack at least. You'd be talking £160 of resin in that model, that just pure cost of the resin, and probably a print time of an 890 in days and days of printing.
That would be several days.
Yeah, and you only get one part on a print, even on a big printer. So it becomes an impossibility to keep it anything like cost effective. So the answer to that is casting, which is why we're working more on casting, why, you know, the Carrack's our first sort of commercially cast piece that we've done in-house. So the next challenge is to take a larger bit, a whole section of a ship. I actually have another project I'm going to try the casting on, which is probably something we will share on stream. I want it kind of a bit more down the line. It's not a Star Citizen project before you get excited. It's a non-Star Citizen gaming project. But it is 45 centimeters high and 30 centimeters wide. So it's certainly the biggest thing we've ever built.
That's big.
It's huge. It's nowhere near the complexity of a Star Citizen ship, so it does make building it this big a little bit easier. There's a lot of repetition on it. It is 3-way symmetrical, so it's a 3-sided shape. It's symmetrical in all the faces. So it's something that we should be able to print and cast pieces of, because there's a lot of repetition for its parts. So making something that big and being able to cast it in one go or in a couple or 3 pieces or whatever I'm going to do it in, I'll be limited by the size of my casting pot. But again, for 800 quid, I can get a casting pot 4 times that size. So that allows me to cast something that in one go. You know, so like that is not a lot of money to be able to make something 5 times the size. It's the equivalent. It's about the same size as a 3L. So the difference between £8,000 and £800. And the other thing is, casting doesn't really get much slower, no matter how big the thing you are casting is. Yes, you're physically mixing a little bit more resin. It'll take you a little bit longer to pour it, but you're talking seconds. You know,
Mhm.
it takes the same amount of time to cure it. So, you know, it's all this. So you can make something huge or small. It still takes the same amount of time. So that's the next big step for us from a modeling point of view. Is we need to start bringing some casted parts into our models so that we can go bigger.
Yeah. I was just going to say that's the opposite of 3D printing. You know, the bigger the part, the exponentially longer it takes.
Yes. No, and it's, you know, the resin doesn't get any cheaper, you know, and, you know, there's a lot more wastage when you do bigger parts as well, because you've got way more supports on these big printers, because the support structures go all the way, and they're absolutely massive. A lot of resin you're throwing in the bin. Whereas, again, casting, you don't really, as long as you can measure stuff out, I mean, look at the amount of supports on that thing. You know, that's all wasted resin that's in the bin. You know, and it's just like the advantage of casting is, you know, let's go for the Aurora Hornet. What, full size? No, I think we'll certainly be doing more 1-to-100. I don't think there's, so it's in, I wonder, let me just have a think here. Is there any, if we were really good at casting, so this is something to think about. If we were really good at casting, is there any part of any of the kits we've done so far that we would have replaced with a cast part? While we're thinking about that, I take it you don't use the same materials when casting. So it's a different type of resin, but it's still a resin, a polyurethane resin. So the resin that goes in the 3D printer is a UV cured resin, so it's light that hardens it. Whereas the stuff you pour, like the stuff we did earlier, is a 2-part mixture. It's a chemically cured resin. So you mix the 2 parts together and then it hardens. But the actual resulting material is pretty much the same. It is a very comparable material. You can get much stronger casting resins if you want to go down that route. They get more viscous and harder to do high detail level stuff with. They also give off a lot of heat when they're curing, so there are issues with warping and stuff with that. But no, they're effectively the same. I would say cast resin is probably a little bit stronger than 3D printed resin, but then now we have the Tough 2000 resin. I'd say it's comparable, certainly comparable now. So that's good. The Arrow canopy isn't cast currently. We 3D print it. We have a much better way of 3D printing it now, which is with a different printer and a different coating, which gives us a much better result. But yeah,
I would say like the Arrow body might be able to be casted.
I think you would lose quite a bit of its detailing if you cast it. Because this is the other thing. So when you cast something, you can't have undercuts. It's difficult to have a hollow in it. It would probably have to be a solid piece, which isn't. Well, I say it isn't a huge problem. It would make it more expensive in material. So good casting resins are about half the price of 3D print resins. So it's only cheaper on materials if you end up using the same amount of material. Yeah, so the Arrow canopy, I don't think we'd want to... hello, Rye. How are you?
Hey, Rye.
Rims and tyres. So I don't think we could cast the Cyclone tyres, just because they're very complicated. We could probably...
I'll be right back.
Could probably cast the Grey Cat tyres if we really wanted to. That would certainly be doable. One of the advantages of like 3D printing is that, so I've now got to deal with my camera delay, is that you can print things like this with no like seam lines that you would get with a casting of something like this. With a casting, you'd end up with this dirty, great big seam line through it. You can completely get away with that with 3D printing. So doing small things like this with really high detail and undercuts and all that kind of stuff, perfect for 3D printing. And to be honest, it's now at the point where manufacturing stuff at scale of things that size is good too. Our big models aren't going to be cast models. We're not going to go down that route. It'll be a hybrid. So the big parts, the fuselage parts. So to take a ship for an example, take the Idris. Let's go for the Idris because that makes the most sense. So the actual main fuselage of the Idris would be cast, but everything else on the bridge, the engines, the guns, the turrets, the doors that open, all those bits would be 3D printed because they get down to these sort of size of parts that is much better to 3D print because you can get the amazing detail in them. But the fuselage itself, with its sort of hangar space on the inside, is going to be huge. So it'd be much better to be able to cast that out of a casting resin, and to keep the cost down. Otherwise, to 3D print the whole Idris, we would definitely need the bigger printer, and the kit would realistically be £600.
In about a year of printing.
And about a year of printing, yeah, absolutely. So, like literally, it would take us a year to get stuff on the shelf to sell. Because that's one of the things that we're having issues with the Carrack, is that Drew's starting printing stuff for us as well, because to print 100 Carracks, even on 7 printers, is taking about 60 days. Just because they are big prints, they're long prints, it physically takes a long time to do them.
Exactly. And you can't make it go any faster.
No, you can't turn it up to you can't. So that's one of the cool things you can sort of do on a CNC machine is force them to go faster. You can choose how fast they do stuff. I've probably been lulled into a false, sort of like, go, oh, we'll just make it cut faster and that'll get it done faster. But it means you end up having to do a lot more sanding because you end up ragging the wood quite a lot. So it doesn't actually save you any time in the long run. It turns out you'd be better just getting another CNC machine. So you could. It's interesting to say that, Gordon. We actually, one of the first ways I did the cyclone tire is to do it. Was to do it as a long band, and I actually struggled to print it that way. But yes, you could definitely cast it that way more easily. One of the issues with the casting process, casting's a lot more labor intensive. You sort of saw us doing the casting over there. It takes quite a lot of human time to do it in a way. If you're doing lots of small pieces, I think 3D printing, you could argue, is cheaper because you can have as many printers as you like in only one operator, so that it's easier to scale. Whereas if we had to cast a lot of small parts, especially like say cyclone tires, for example, you've got to make 4 for each one. So all of a sudden you're talking about 2,000 tires to individually cast. Well, if they're flat, you're probably only going to get maybe a dozen of them in a casting pot. So that's a lot of casts, to do. One of the advantages of doing this Carrack part is I'm getting 35 in a pot. I could probably double deck them if I really wanted to in this pressure pot, or I could just get another pressure pot. It would mean we'd have to make more molds. But interestingly, when we get to the stage of having 2 different parts that we cast, if I had 2 pressure pots, I would have a casting morning, and I would do all my things that I had to do casts of. So you've only got one set of cleanup, you've only got one set of prep, and you've cast 200 different parts of different things. It's very time efficient, just with more casting pots. So you could certainly upscale casting quite significantly. I say you've just got, I think it's one of those things where you need to have a lot of different things you're making, bizarrely, because if you also, if you have to make more molds of the same thing, that gets costly quite quickly because the silicon itself is very expensive. It's about, I think this stuff is 280 quid a gallon or something like that. So you don't want to be using the silicon more than you need to be. So if you've got a set for each part, just try and cast loads of different parts in the same day. I think it's more sort of economic. You could also stack up in the pressure pot, definitely.
But for that, you get a lot better economy of scale, right? Versus with the 3D printing, you can have 10 printers and you can have all the resin in the world. It's still going to cost you X amount per print.
Yes, and the issue with the printers is that they are expensive to add a printer in. Whereas with casting, I suppose your investment in it is quite expensive to get started on the casting because you need your degas chambers, all that kind of stuff. But you only ever need one degas chamber because you're only using it just for that one bit where you're degassing the thing you're about to pour in. It's really essential, right. But you'll never need to buy more degas chambers. Like, no matter how much fucking casting you were doing. So because
you're only doing it for that couple minutes, right?
Yeah, you're using it for literally a couple of minutes for each cast you're doing. you'd end up with loads of different pressure pots. But again, these pressure pots are only a couple of £100 each. You know, if you're talking about if you can fill it with a huge amount of value of parts each time, they pay themselves back very, very quickly. You know, so they're also more robust than 3D printers. There's a lot less shit to go wrong on a pressure pot. You know, you could also have them custom made, you know, quite if you had a specific use case for a particularly large thing, you could just order a massive pressure pot from a blacksmith. Do you know what I mean? It's just like crazy. Or you could build one yourself if you were brave.
No, I don't know about that.
You need to be fucking brave.
I think this is the guy who made his own blast furnace, or
yeah. Well, yeah, we did make our own furnace. That is a lot less scary than a pressure pot. I think there's something about.
You think so?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, what's the worst thing that could have happened with that furnace? We set fire to Jamie's shed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Worst thing with a pressure pot, it's a bomb, and that's
it blows up.
60
sense,
psi is a lot.
That is a lot, yeah.
You know, I'm just happy to blame JR immediately, but if you insist, we will look at the evidence.
Can't see that. Cog and something.
I'll have to.
Sorry, I blame JR.
Yes, I blame JR too. He's a dick. Thank you for the follow there.
But apparently he's got really nice friends.
Gonzo, I think. He has got it. It's the only thing that keeps me going. But yeah, 60 PSI is a bomb.
Yeah. And can cost
that cutlass was 1 to 500. Yes, so this cutlass is a 1 to 500 cutlass. Sorry, I've got my stupid camera delay on. Oh, I could just look at. Wait a minute. If I turn that screen, I could actually see the camera on the camera. There we go. So yeah, that's our 1 to 500 cutlass. So these are 1 to 500 dioramas that we now have available. We also have
thingy moves here. Look at that.
Painted Max. Little arrow. I love the little arrow. So yeah, they're all diorama packs that are available. We've got Cutlass Black, Red, Freelancer, Freelancer Dur, Freelancer Max, Pisces, and Arrows. And they're to go alongside the Carrack.
I gotta say those little 500 1 to 500 chips are like perfect for desktop tchotchkes. They're just like fantastic.
Oh, they are. They're great. And with them being in tough resin, you can have them kicking around on your desk without really worrying about them as well, which is
exactly.
I always have them. They're the only models I have out of the 1 to 500 little dioramas. They are perfect for tabletop gaming as well. They are
interesting.
You'd almost say designed for tabletop gaming. So they're absolutely ideal. We're doing the next raft of them is a fair number, I think. Cutlass Blue, because I forgot the Cutlass Blue was in game.
Bringing out the blue. All right.
Bringing out the blue. The Cutlass Blue is relatively easy to do because all the only new bit on the blue is the canopy. So the canopy on the blue is really curvy. It's like a big bubble canopy. So that's the only thing that actually needs to get redone. It's got the wings from the red, but it's got the missile pods from the black. So it's a bit of and turret from the black. So it's a bit of a combination between the black and the red with its different canopy. So that'll be a pretty quick one to do. Gladius is coming out. Buccaneer's coming out. Freelancer Miz should be in there as well. Saber.
These are all 1 to 500.
These are all 1 to 500, yeah. Vanguard. Mantis.
Yep.
I think that's all of them. Quite a big raft. Oh, MSR as well. MSR and the C2 are coming. The MSR is a diorama and the C2 is a kit model. Is the Connie hard to do? It's hard to look at. Do you not think? I'm really not a fan of the Connie. And I've been kind of... it will be a relatively hard 1 to 500 chip to do in that it's so complicated. It'll be a fairly good size. How long's the Connie? The normal one?
I don't know.
Compared to a Cutlass. 1.5 times the length? Maybe more? 60 meters. Okay, so nearly twice the Cutlass.
It's too fast for me. Oh well.
So you sort of think it's going to be that sort of length, maybe? So it's a decent sized model. It'll be a nice little. Still, the engine's come up. So the engine's a VTOL on this, so you can sort of, so you can build it in either way. So you can have. It also comes with landing gear and stuff as well.
Very small.
Nice. The landing gear is awesome on these. I love the landing gear. Would a real Connie actually balance correctly? Yeah, the base hole's fairly big anyway. I think you could probably get it out of bounds. Yeah, we'll see. Right, okay. It is now 10 o'clock and I'm starting to yawn. And once I've started to yawn, it will not stop. Oh, it's been a long day. I built a fence today. Been physical labouring today. We should raid somebody. Who have we got? Oh, we'll raid Captain Richard. He's playing No Man's Sky, but we won't hold that against him. That's cool. Thank you very much, you two wonderful gentlemen, for joining us.
Of course, anytime.
And let's go Captain Richard, let's get him set up. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. I'm trying to think what we're doing on Wednesday. I have no idea. To see how the week goes.
You're a rock star, Ewan Carr.
You are indeed. Right, okay, let's get the stream ready. So yes, we shall raid Captain Richard because it's been a while since I've raided Captain Richard.
And GHG is not streaming, so
he's not. No, I never get to raid him.
I know he's on a different schedule though.
He is.
But I do like,
but I love the fact he's back streaming there. So that is the main thing. That is the main thing.
Very cool.
So thank you all, and we shall see you very soon. Ta-da.